Woo! Yes. Oh man, I am jacked up. I apologize. Let me. You know what? I was right in the middle of my show prep. It went a little long, so bear with me 1 minute. I'm gonna turn on some lights, make this a little more fun. Um, all right, here we go. All right. So I'm seeing nobody's here. I've had this issue before. Okay, I'm looking at two now. Um, I apologize in advance because I was doing some show prep and I did not get everything ironed out yet. I'm almost done though. Bear with me just 1 second here because I have got some. I'm breaking down every single game right now, and I I thought I'd be done faster. So my apologies. Um, all right, hold on here. My apologies. I thought I'd be done faster, but I was not ready yet, and that's on me. And by the way, there are some games that I am missing. So all right, Alex. I am really, really glad that you're here because here, let's. Alex wants to know how is it going. He is a Houston Texans fan, and he says he is doing great because of what happened to Bill O'Gone. um, I want to give you a message. All right, I'm going to give you a message here. I got coffee and I got water. I'm super jacked up. I don't need neither, but I like drinking. All right, I like drinking. So, um, I am going to give you a message. As a Chiefs fan, as a um, the last team the last team Romeo Crennel took over for as interim head coach was the Kansas City Chiefs in 2011. He was the head coach in 2012. The 2012 season, I've been a Chiefs season ticket holder since 1989. The worst season I've ever had as a Chiefs fan was 2012. So let me give you a fair warning. I don't care if Romeo Crennel takes you to the Super Bowl. Do not hire him to be your head coach. Do not hire him to be your head coach. He will do a good job. As interim, he will do a good job. All right. I'm going to tell you that right now. This team's going to look a lot better. I actually think that there's a small possibility I may win my 7.5 game over bet. Do not hire him as your head coach. Time to get the enemy. And it's kind of funny. I think that they should go after somebody completely different. But Eric Bieniemy would be a very good fit. The number one name that popped up in my mind is a possible replacement for. I have no idea what this is here. Okay. The number one name that popped into my mind, and I think that you're going to completely disagree. And I understand why you'd want Eric Bieniemy, and I think Eric Bieniemy would be a great fit down there. How's that brain freeze? I literally did show prep and did not think I needed to talk about this guy because I know him so well and his first name. And I do this from time to time. I can give you so many different facts about this guy, but I completely drew a blank on his name, and I should have put it in my notes, so I apologize. Okay. The number one name that popped into my mind was Todd Bowles. He's the defensive coordinator in Tampa Bay, and the reason why I like Todd Bowles for Houston is that the last two Houston Texans head coaches have been offensive minds. You have a lot of money on that defensive side of the ball, and that defense is not a top 10 unit, but it should be a top 10 unit. This is how I would rebuild the Houston Texans. You have a superstar quarterback, a lot of youth on the offensive line. You don't have a pick in the first round or the second round. So I want to take a guy who's a good defensive mind and build that 3-4. And Bowles' system is very similar to what Romeo Crennel's going to run. Okay. Hopefully Romeo Crennel doesn't run the same complex system he ran in Kansas City. Hopefully he runs kind of a dumbed down version. Bowl system's very similar, and you wouldn't have to transfer personnel. And then what he would do is bring in a experienced offensive mind and say, hey, you run the offense, I'm going to run the defense. Because believe it or not, you have more money invested on the defensive side of the ball than you do on the offensive side of the ball. And again, I really think that you're going to probably do what you've done the last two times, go on the offensive side of the ball. But I think you should go after Todd Bowles. That was the first name that popped in my mind because I really think that you fix the defense. You have your quarterback in play, fix your defense. And by the way, this is what the Indianapolis Colts did with Tony Dungy, and it worked really well. But yeah, I can see that. I'm going to post this up here, but I'm going to get to James first. James, that game that you won against the Cardinals probably saved his job. And Quinn needs to go, and Patricia needs to go. And I think you were on the Luke G show, and Luke G was talking about Quinn. I cannot emphasize this enough because the same problem Detroit's having is the same problem the Houston Texans have, is that there's a major disconnect between the general manager and head coach. All right. You tell me what you think, because I obviously I'm not in Detroit. I think that if it was up to Patricia, he would have took Isaiah Simmons and did the same thing. Brian Flores, who was his linebackers coach when he was the defense coordinator in New England, did, and he's now the head coach in Miami. He would do the same thing that Flores is doing in Miami, and he would go after top-notch corners that are experienced veterans and spend a lot of money at the corner position. Because when you play that man defense, the number one position you need is corner, then you need help in pass rush. And I think the GM said, hey, we're going to get the best corner. You coach up the corner. I don't think he really wanted to do that. I think he wanted to get top-notch corners and then to get a guy like Simmons that he could use as a chess piece. And I think that him and Quinn are on two different pages. And that same problem that Bill O'Brien had in Houston at first. Because remember, they signed Brock Osweiler. He didn't even know. He was not even consulted. And they spent all that money on Osweiler. And I'm going to tell you a secret, Alex, you tell me, because I'm going to tell you something. He really wanted Mahomes. He loved Mahomes, and he was pissed the Chiefs traded up because Chiefs went from 27 to 10. Houston, I think, picked 12. And I think the rumor was, I want to say 8 or 9, that they were going to try to trade up, but the GM vetoed it, but Bill O'Brien did. The Chiefs and the Bills already had this worked out. So that's kind of my thought process. So they settled for Watson, great quarterback, superstar quarterback, you're set. I'm not insulting Watson by saying he's not on Mahomes' level. Okay, I'm not insulting him by saying that. All right, this is not an insult to Deshaun Watson to say he's not as good as Mahomes. It's just a fact. Keep in mind, yes, I'm a Chiefs fan. But that was what Bill O'Brien wanted to do. And so what they did is they got rid of the GMs, and then they overloaded him. Because keep in mind, in Kansas City, Seattle, and New England, where the head coaches have personnel control, there is a general manager in play that does all the stuff. Bill O'Brien wasn't equipped. So, yeah. And that's the same problem that you have in Detroit, is that you're not on the same page. The GM and head coach has to be on the same page. It wasn't the case in Houston. That's exactly what's going on in Detroit. I think that's kind of what's going on in New York with the Jets. I think the Giants, they're all on the same page. But whoever Houston hires as general manager, the general manager and coach have to be on the same page. I think it's good that you bring in somebody who wants to work together. That's why I've been saying, James, John Dorsey and Eric Bieniemy work together. They know each other. Bringing in these two together to Detroit is my number one pick, and I think it would work. So here, let me get to the comments here. Does not agree with me. I did not expect you to agree with me, Alex, but if I was the Houston Texans, I would go after Todd Bowles and work on that defense because that's where you have most of your money invested. Believe it or not, you have a ton of money invested in that defense. You're not playing like a top 10 defense, and you need to. And the Texans can have Patricia. Romeo, yes, you nailed it 100%. He's going to do good this year, but no, he is not a replacement. I don't care how well he does. And by the way, he's going to look good. And there's going to be people in the Houston media who are going to be like, "Hey, man, maybe we should take a look." No, don't do it. Trust me, he did it here in Kansas City. Terrible. And yeah, man, I remember that. Yeah, my Sunday routine is I work out, and then I'm going to try to keep this short. But Monday was my birthday, and what happened is I was getting ready to watch football. And my dad called and he's like, "Hey, happy birthday. I got a card for you." And our family, what we do is that we give each other, birthday cards, which, has money inside. And that's what we give each other's presents. So he's like, "Why don't you come over? I got a card for you. I'll fix you something to eat." I was like, "Hey, man, yeah." So I didn't watch as much football as I normally do on Sunday. So, but yeah, I do remember James. But that's kind of like my routine when Luke G comes on. I'm going to drink some coffee, even though I'm jacked up already. That's kind of my new routine. And okay, I got a little blurry there for a second. And Luke has some good points, and now's one of the things. But he didn't touch base on that Quinn and Patricia are disconnected. That was the one thing he didn't touch base on. But he said you got to get rid of Quinn. The general manager and head coach have got to be on the same page. It's really just a matter of time before that happens, and but it will happen. It will happen. Patricia, Patricia will not take that job. Big Chief Sean, man. Big Chief Sean is a Chiefs fan. He's got a YouTube channel. Check out his channel. Sean, I don't know if your profile anyway, but listen, Big Chief Sean, since you're on my show, if you're a Chiefs fan, you got to check his channel out. He does some really cool stuff where he goes around Arrowhead, does some tailgating, which is funny that he says that because my boy Scott, who's also a Chiefs season ticket holder, is in the house. Scott, what is up? Very, very happy to hear from you. If you do have fantasy questions, you can post them here, even though I think we got your fantasy team ironed out. This is good. Chiefs fans, what do you think? I think Watson is a better player than Mahomes. I'm very happy we got him. This is from a Texans fan. Hey, you know what? You're looking at two of the top 5 quarterbacks in football. Now, maybe if you don't want to put Watson in the top 5, I get it. But most people would consider Mahomes the best quarterback in football. I would say both these guys are top 5. Would I have been unhappy? I'm going to tell you a fact, and this is going to lose a lot of credibility here. I did not want Mahomes in Kansas City. I actually liked Trubisky a lot more than I liked Watson or Mahomes. But unlike most channels, when you make a mistake and you don't own up to it, I own up to it. And I really like Trubisky, and I feel like an idiot. So, and Big Chief Sean, it'll be very interesting to see. And Big Chief Sean, I know you can attribute to this. Tell the people that are Houston fans. I got some Houston fans here. Tell them you don't want Romeo Crennel as your head coach. I don't care how well he does. Trust me. But hey, thank you, Big Chief Sean, man. I didn't do anything special for my birthday, but in a couple weeks I have something really awesome planned. I'm not going to say what it is yet, but I do have something really awesome planned I'm going to share for you guys. So, yeah, I got some stuff. By the way, don't forget, give me a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, make sure you do. James, there's no closet here, man. I got a lot of respect for the Detroit Lions franchise. I loved watching Barry Sanders. I loved go old school here. Billy Sims, Herman Moore, a lot of Lions players I really liked. Matthew Stafford, I loved him as a freshman coming out of Georgia. And Luke G was very, very nice enough that he let me come on his show twice. And so, I'm always going to have some Detroit Lions love, man. Lots of Lions love, man. Watt got rid of, I actually just read about that today, and I think that I actually normally I would say, I don't know about that, but I think you're right. I think that if this didn't happen and Watt defended Bill O'Brien and they were on the same page, I think he lasts till the end of the year because he's not only the head coach, he's the general manager. So, excuse me. So yeah, I do see that as being the cause, and ultimately, and this is a big deal though. You got to play better, but I'll tell you, it's I how good does this trade look for Miami, who's going to get your first and second round pick next year? They're talking in Miami, they may have two top five quarterbacks. I'm sorry, two top five picks in the draft, and it's going to be very creative what the Miami Dolphins do in the draft. This draft is going to be a lot of fun. By the way, if you're a draft fan, I'm going to do a lot of draft stuff. Watson is good and could be better if you had Andy Reid, of course. Absolutely. I think if you look, Donovan McNabb, who's depending on who you talk to, he's a borderline Hall of Famer. I don't think he's a Hall of Fame quarterback, but if you want to argue and fight tooth and nail that he is, great. But without Andy Reid, he's probably an average to above average quarterback. Watson's better than Donovan McNabb. I don't think he's as good as Mahomes, but yeah, Watson in Kansas City would do a lot of the same things. He's more mobile. He's more athletic. Doesn't have the arm talent. Mahomes' arm talent is just ridiculous, and the way he can stretch the field. But yeah, but Watson in Kansas City, I think, is capable of doing almost the same thing. They would have won a Super Bowl with Watson. I really believe that. So, happy birthday, Dan. What'd you think of the Pats Chiefs game on Monday? Ended up taking the Pats 11. You know what? I told myself that if it got to 12, I was going to do it, and then I ended up not doing it. And you didn't realize, yeah. So, but yeah, you're right. You are 100% right, Jimmy. I came really close to taking New England plus 12, and I chickened out. And that's kind of my plan here. Matter of fact, the Chiefs Raiders game, which I'll be honest with you, is currently off the board. That was one of the things I was doing right before I started doing this show. It's off the board because I almost took the Raiders plus 13.5. I really almost took the Raiders and plus 13.5. Right now, that game's off the board, but that's one of the games I was planning on talking about right before the show started. I was trying to find it. It's been removed from the betting boards. So, but yeah, I was really thinking about taking the Raiders plus 13.5. The over under is 56. So, I was kind of hoping the over under would continue to climb up. I think it was 56.5, dropped down to 56, but that's a game I'm kind of hoping the over climbs up. But be careful betting on the Raiders. They have some corner injuries and they have some receiver injuries. And that means that if you get in a shootout with Kansas City, you're in bad shape because your top receivers are down. And then you have corners that are injured on the Raiders side, and the Chiefs receivers are healthy. So if you are going to take the Raiders, be very careful. Remember last time they played, the Chiefs won 40-9, and you Chiefs fans can tell me, as I'm going to tell you, I was at Arrowhead. They could have won by 50. They could have won by 50. So if you do take the Raiders, be careful. Be careful. I'm not going to take a 13.5 point favorite. But if you're going to take the Raiders, be careful. I'm warning you now. You don't want to play against Kansas City with your corners injured. I'm going to tell you that right now. Funk, what is up, brother? Oh, man. What is a Funk, man? You listen, I want to hear from you guys here. Let me tell you something. What do you think about Patricia still being? Let me ask you something. Would you be happier at 0-4 without Patricia? Or are you happier at 1-3? Yeah, I got some fly around here. So That's something I kind of want to hear from you guys. So what do you think? Brady is the number one quarter. If we're talking all time, that's a legitimate argument. Mike, I think we're close to the same age. Because you mentioned Greasy, so I think you have a few years on me. All time list, Johnny U will be my number one quarterback of all time. I'll argue that Johnny U revolutionized the game in ways that could never be explained. If you're talking this year, I'm not going to say so. Thursday night football. What is your thoughts? That's going to be a fun game. Lots of injuries on the Bucks. I think Godwin's out. Fournette's doubtful. That's a big one. Fournette. I think Fournette's a big one. How will Brady be prepared for a Thursday game? That's another thing. I'm kind of curious about that. Funk, thank you, man. Yeah, my birthday was Monday. I didn't do anything really special. Just went to work. I had something planned a few weeks from now. I'm doing something really cool at the end of the month, and I haven't told anybody yet, but I'm doing something really, really cool at the end of the month. Jimmy C's Raiders at plus 13. It was 13 and a half. It was 13 and a half. So, yeah, I got this fly that's driving me nuts here. So, yeah. That's actually a good move. I'm a huge Brian Leftwich fan, and it's just a matter of time before he's going to be a head coach. So Leftwich, I really like in Detroit, but like I've mentioned before, and like Luke G mentioned on his show Sunday, well, Luke G didn't really touch base on this. He just kind of blamed the GM, but if you bring Brian Leftwich, you got to bring I think you got to bring a GM. I think you got to clean house, and the same thing with Houston. So you got to if you're going to bring in a coach, you got to bring in a GM who they're on the same page and they have the same program. And that's not what you have right now in Detroit. And that's my opinion. I think you got Quinn and Patricia on two different pages. And I don't think Patricia's cut out to be an NFL head coach. That's just my opinion. Solid bet slip online from Monday night. 2-team parlay for first touchdown scored. Dude took Aaron Jones and Tyreek Hill. Wow. I know you love those prop bets, man. I know you love those I avoid them. I don't do prop bets. That's just me. By the way, don't forget, give me a thumbs up. And if you're new to this channel, please hit that subscribe button. It does me a world of good. It's also scientifically proven to make all your wildest dreams come true. I'm going to drink some coffee even though I'm jacked up. Amazement 717. You're new to the show, in my opinion. I haven't seen you here, man. So hey, great to see you. Welcome. Yeah, this game is basically both teams proving that they're legit. My Bucks are legit. We have to show we are because of the soft schedule early. Just win this game, get out healthy. I'm praying. You're going in banged up. No Godwin. OJ Howard on IR. I know those are the two big ones. Fournette is key in my opinion. I think a healthy Fournette, even banged up, really helps. I like the fact that you beat the Chargers because I'm a Chiefs fan. So that really, I'm not scared of the Chargers, but any AFC West team losing. But yeah, this is going to be a fun game because I think the Bears have a better defense. Okay. I'm not disrespecting your team. I think the Bears have better defense. You guys have a better offense. They're healthier than you guys. Brady, how can he turn around for a Thursday game? That's not easy. That's not easy to play in an NFL game on Sunday and then go on the road Thursday when you're over 40. Not easy to do. This is going to be a fun game. And honestly, Tampa Bay's the better team. That's how I got the game. But they're not coming in healthy. They're on the road, and it's Thursday. So yeah, but you're 100% correct. The key is though, yeah, can they get out healthy? And health's going to be the key all year long. Health's going to be the key. Fournette is huge. Fournette is huge on this game. And yeah, Jimmy, we are going to talk Thursday night football, man. We are definitely talking Thursday night football. Yeah, I actually thought it might be a little higher favored towards Tampa Bay. The reason why action's coming towards Chicago because of the injuries And a lot of people are looking at Brady being over 40, preparing on a Thursday night game on the road against a good defense. Keep in mind, their right tackle's a rookie. The left tackle, Donovan Smith, they gave a contract extension to, but I don't consider him elite. You have a really good front seven. And Brady is, let's just face it, I mean, he's never been a mobile quarterback, but this is to me going to be a very fun game, but it's one that we'll talk about it, but I really don't have one. I really don't have a pick, but I got all the games. I got all the games except for the Chiefs game, which is now off. Now I'm using my bookie. So yeah. Oh yeah. I remember him at Marshall, man. I think somebody put the comment in here. Remember he was carried. It was funny. The one thing I was really impressed me of Leftwich, and it was very minor, but what he did was I remember before he was drafted, he said he memorized each team's area code. So when the phone rang, he knew which city it was from. And that just really impressed me. He seemed like a very intelligent kid. His career really didn't take off because he had that really long, it just took forever. He was never able to shorten that up, and that's never the quarterback that he was. But bottom line, great college quarterback, had the arm strength, the intelligence, the size, the toughness. Just that release just took so long, and you can't do that. You can't have an extended release, not in the NFL. But this was a guy that when I heard he was going into coaching, I thought he'd be an NFL head coach. He will be an NFL head coach, if not next year. And I would bet money he'd be an NFL coach next year. But yeah. Oh, you remember this too? Yeah. Yeah, this happened in college. I think his leg was actually broken, but they're out of timeouts. So he tried to hop, and then two of his linemen just picked him up, and so he just spiked the ball and had to leave the game. So, yeah. Tim didn't put action on that one, Jimmy, but it is a great play. No, Mike, I know he didn't play Sunday. He's doubtful for Thursday, and you really shouldn't have needed him for the Chargers. You really shouldn't have needed him for the Chargers, but they played you tough, and it was a big win. But I think you will need him against the Bears. You're definitely stepping up in caliber of competition. So, no, Funk, I 100% agree because I don't think Quinn and Patricia are on the same page. I really don't think they're on the same page. And I don't think Patricia's cut out to be a coach anyway. But yeah, they got a clean house. And I've been saying this since right after the draft. I think that Patricia's going to be gone. And I think you should look at a Dorsey Bieniemy matchup. Get both these guys together. These two guys have worked together, so that's kind of what I see. But whoever you hire as GM and head coach, it'd be good if they had a history together and were on the same page. Don't hire one who's not familiar with the other. That's key. The thing is, Foles is familiar with this offense. He was in Kansas City for a year. He's able to pick up on the offense. I think, to be honest, the short turnaround for a home team is really going to affect Tampa Bay more than Chicago. I'll be honest with you. I didn't watch Chicago versus the Colts. I heard Foles looked bad, but the short turnaround, I think, really benefits the Bears being the home team. And also, you're also benefiting with a banged up Bucs team. So I don't think it's really going to be, yeah. I'm not buying into the Colts defense, but we're going to talk about that game too. Bruce Arians isn't going to be there, for 10 years. And I would love that. Matter of fact, they've done that before. If you remember, they fired Lovie Smith so they could promote Dirk Cutter, who's the offensive coordinator. God, excuse me. I'm sorry. So they promoted Dirk Cutter from offensive coordinator to head coach. They fired Lovie Smith, but keep in mind, Dirk Cutter, an experienced coach, a ton of experience, which is something Leftwich doesn't have. So promoting him to head coach made a lot more sense. Leftwich will get an offer. I'd feel confident he's going to get an offer at the end of this year. But if he stayed in Tampa Bay, didn't like Andy offers, sooner or later he's going to be an NFL head coach. He will leave Tampa Bay before Arians retires. I think Arians will stay there for a couple of years unless something dramatic happens. But yeah, unfortunately, know these two guys, and also think Todd Bowles, who I think would be a perfect fit for Houston, despite what Alex says. I think Todd Bowles will also leave, so I think you're going to have both coordinators gone. Probably this year. But Bruce Arians has always been good about bringing guys in, and it'll be interesting to see what they do in the offseason. But yeah. 3 teams needing to clean house after Houston, Atlanta, Detroit, and Denver. Most likely the Browns are going to do it if they miss the playoffs. Browns are always a threat to clean house. I mean, what the Browns do is just ridiculous. With Atlanta and Detroit, definitely. Atlanta, there's a chance Dimitroff may stay because he's been there for a very long time, and most people consider Dimitroff one of the better general managers. It wouldn't surprise me though if Atlanta cleans house. Detroit will definitely clean house. Atlanta may or may not fire Dimitroff, who's the general manager. In Denver, I think Elway. It's a coin flip for Elway, but Fangio will definitely be gone. I want the GM now so you can trade off all the here's what I think will happen. I think Patricia probably won't last the whole season. I think unfortunately he'll stay till like week 14 or 15, maybe 16. And then he'll be gone for like the last week, and then the general manager will probably be let go shortly after the playoffs. It could be like a Black Monday thing where they get rid of the general manager, and that would be very, very interesting. So, but yeah, the sooner they get a GM in there is key. But most teams, as a general rule of thumb, hire a general manager and they let the general manager pick the coach. Sometimes they bring in a coach first and then bring in a GM. It'll be interesting to see what Detroit does. I would like it if they did that, where they get rid of the GM, hire a GM, and have the GM have some input. The new GM has some input on the coach. That's how they should do it. It'll be interesting to see how it handles. I agree, though, that both the GM and the head coach will be gone. And it'll be interesting to see what kind of a direction Detroit goes in. Because if they finish bad enough and they have a high draft pick, there's a couple quarterbacks that are being looked very highly. And we're going to do a lot of draft talk. Because you could be looking at a new quarterback in Detroit, which I personally don't feel like is a good move. So I want to know what we're going to do for GM. I don't know many people that'd be good for this position. This will be interesting because I think that you need to hire somebody with a lot of experience, because the contract situation, especially on the defensive side of the ball, is going to be key. You don't have a first or a second round pick, so you can't build through the draft. But this team is talented enough to go to the playoffs. So this could be a situation where you may want to bring in an experienced coach. That's why I kind of like Todd Bowles as opposed to Eric Bieniemy. And then you could bring in an experienced personnel guy from a successful franchise. That would be my recommendation. But I think that with the Texans, more than the other teams that are going to fire coaches, I think the Texans really need to bring in somebody with some experience. And they also need to hire a lot of people on that front office. That's really been, I don't think Patricia was a terrible coach, but he was not a good GM. And you cannot be the head coach and GM in the NFL anymore. It used to be you could do it a long time ago. You can't do it now. But they really need to fix that front office. As far as names, I don't know off the top of my head. I've mentioned John Dorsey, who was the general manager in Kansas City. Then he went to Cleveland, orchestrated OBJ trade. By the way, the roster in Cleveland, that was John Dorsey. There's not 15 general managers better than John Dorsey. But John Dorsey's a guy that you can bring in, that you want to bring in, who understands how to build a team up, which I don't think you need to do in Houston. I think with Houston, you have the pieces in play. It's just getting the personnel to play up to the level that should be playing. Houston, when you look at Houston Texans roster, this should be a playoff team. No reason it's not a playoff team. It'll be kind of interesting to see the direction they want to go in, because do you want to go in a direction, for example, the Pittsburgh Steelers, veteran team built through the draft, kind of an old school approach. It was the approach they did in Green Bay for a long time. Or do you want to go with a, approach that you have where you just blow up the whole team? Another thing is that I mentioned Thomas Dimitroff with the Falcons. If he's on his way out, and if you get rid of Dimitroff, that may be a guy that you want to bring in. That would probably be my number one guy if he's available. That'd be an interesting name. I am actually going to talk about that game. I got an interesting case here. Brady got Bill O'Brien, which will be in line. Brady got Bill O'Brien, Josh McDaniels, and Charlie Weiss jobs, left which will be in line. Bulls may get another shot too. I think Bruce Arians is grooming him to be a head coach. I hope Leftwich stays in Tampa. Yeah, if I'm a Tampa Bay Bucks fan, I want Bowles and Leftwich to stay in and stay in Tampa. I don't think it'll happen, because I think that both these guys are guys that really should be head coaches. I think both these guys are going to get opportunities. Leftwich is a guy people have been talking about for a couple of years. I thought Bowles got a really bad deal in New York. The way it worked out in New York is he was trying to build a defense with a lot of youth, and then they were going to go with experience on the offensive side of the ball. Then the very next year they draft Sam Darnold, and I knew that he was doomed. And again, it was disconnect between the head coach and the general manager, and you can't have disconnect with the head coach and the general manager. So whoever gets the job, if Leftwich and Bowles, I think Leftwich may leave to take any position. I think Bowles will only go where he feels like he has a good rapport with the general manager. And not only that, he also has no problem staying in Tampa Bay where he has a good relationship with Arians. And I can't vouch, but I think that both Bowles and Leftwich are being paid very, very well by the Glazer family. So that's another thing. Music City guy. No, I did not see this at all. I really thought he would last a lot longer. We kind of talked about this earlier, that there was an argument between J.J. Watt and Bill O'Brien. And you normally I don't pay a lot of attention to say that a player got a coach fired. I don't think that normally happens. I think this might really have caused it. Bill O'Brien, of course, was not getting a job on the general manager level. I think that if he won that game against Minnesota, of course, he would have kept his job. But this is too good of a team to go 0-4. So, yeah, I didn't see it either. You know what? It's funny. The Patriot way has only worked in New England. Kansas City tried it. It didn't work. Detroit tried it. It hasn't worked. In Miami, where they've tried it, didn't work. They tried it with Eric Mangini in New York. It didn't work. It's only worked in New England. It only works in New England, and it's because you got, I think, the greatest coach of all time. Oh, Funk's got a good one. When does Brent Venables leave for a DC job in the NFL? I don't know. It's a great question because I don't have the answer. I don't have the answer for you, but he's a guy I've heard about, and he will get DC job maybe this year. And I apologize. This fly is just driving me nuts. I just found him like a few minutes before I started the show. I didn't think he would be flying all around me. Are flies attracted to coffee and water? Yeah. Amazement 717 coming in strong, man. I'm glad you're here, man. I hope you hit that subscribe button. Scientifically proven. My channel, scientifically proven to make all your wildest dreams come true. Eric Bieniemy should have been a head coaching job this year. He will be a head coaching job in 2011. I've been saying I think the perfect spot for him is Detroit. With former GM, Chiefs GM John Dorsey. I think that pair will end up in Detroit, believe it or not. Mike, Browns 3-1, leading the league in rushing and getting turnovers. Now, keep in mind they just played Didn't they just play Dallas, which is a total train wreck? Matter of fact, Venerables may end up being the defensive coordinator in Dallas. By the way, I wouldn't surprise me if Mike Nolan, the defensive coordinator for Dallas, gets fired very quickly. And I talked about this in some detail. You have a guy who wants to run a 3-4 defense, a Tampa 2 defense that was in place in Dallas, two totally in separate things. I wasn't sure how that was going to work. It was going to take some time. But yeah. But yeah, by the way, John Dorsey, he's the guy who built that whole roster. Browns playing an interesting game. Very interesting game. I have some thoughts on it. Do you know if there are any betting odds on when Patricia? I don't. That's something I will look up. I honestly feel like if they didn't win that game against Arizona, he gets fired during the bye week. I think he lasts through the majority of the season. I really do. I think he gets fired in late December. That's kind of how I see it. I think he gets fired late December. That's my opinion. Funk says, I'm not sure the Lions do clean it out. The next chunk of the schedule is softer. Not this year, but next year. And Scott brings up a very interesting point. Did they hire Kansas City and then the GM? You're right. And what the Chiefs did was very unusual because Clark Hunt took over from Lamar Hunt when Lamar Hunt passed away. And what Clark Hunt did is he wanted to have both the head coach and the general manager report directly to him. So it's kind of like a pyramid. Normally it's a ladder where you have the owner, the GM, and the head coach. Well, Clark Hunt wanted a lot more control because, as you know, Carl Peterson, he was the president, general manager, CEO. Basically, Clark Hunt handed the whole franchise over to Carl Peterson. Carl Peterson did everything. And so when they moved on from Carl Peterson to Scott Pioli, he was going to do the same thing. He was going to let Scott Pioli run everything. They were going to do the Patriot way, which of course did not work because it doesn't work anywhere else except in New England. So what he did is he did something very unusual, being the smart businessman that he is. He was going to hire an experienced head coach, an experienced general manager, and both of them were going to report directly to Clark Hunt. But yes, he fired Andy Reid first. And by the way, when Andy Reid and John Dorsey, collided, they did the same thing Houston Texans did. They went with Andy Reid. They went the coach over to GM. It worked in Kansas City. It did not work in Houston. But keep in mind, the experience Andy Reid has better than the experience Bill O'Brien has. And I'm not insulting Bill O'Brien or saying anything negative about him. He's just not as good of a head coach as Andy Reid. Nothing wrong with that. I think Andy Reid, especially if he wins another Super Bowl, people are going to talk about him as one of the greatest coaches of all time. Alex says the Texans will need to trade Merciless, Kiki Q. I don't know who that is. And some others to regain draft picks, Bob. Yes. See, that's kind of why, because you don't have draft picks. That's why I think you should go with Todd Bowles, because I think the one thing Todd Bowles would do that nobody else can do is that he could come into the Texans and immediately make that defense a top 10 defense. And then what you do on the offensive side is you have a really good, solid quarterback in Deshaun Watson, who's top 5 quarterback. That's not. I mean, you guys tell me that aren't Texans fans. Is Deshaun Watson top 5 quarterback? I think he is. So get a top 10 defense with a star quarterback. But if you go with an offensive mind, you're probably looking to probably blow up that defense. And because you have so much money invested in that defense, and Bob did screw you on a lot of those contracts because he built a defense that's very expensive and not with a lot of depth. So that's a big problem. That's why I kind of like Todd Bowles going to Houston more, and I like some of these offensive minds. It wouldn't surprise me if they do just the opposite and go with an offensive mind, but then you have to blow up the defense, and you're looking at contracts, and it's tough on free agency. You can't rebuild through the draft. But yeah, the Texans have a interesting road in the offseason, but let's take it one step at a time. Let's get win number 1. Let's get over 7.5 wins so I can collect on my Houston Texans bet. Ooh, this is an interesting take. Amazement 717 coming very strong, man. I'm so glad you joined the show, brother. Lions should have kept Caldwell. Patricia actually made them worse. Stafford's too talented to be on the losing team. I was not a fan of Caldwell. I was not a fan of Caldwell at all. I thought that was a bad decision. And I thought Patricia was not a good choice because Patricia wants to do the complete opposite of what Caldwell did. And how long would it take to get the roster turned over on the defensive side of the ball? Because they run polar opposite defenses. Okay. Same thing that's going on in Dallas is similar because when you go from that Tampa 2 defense, because Caldwell wanted a fast, light defense that would cause a lot of turnovers, and he wanted a high scoring offense, where Patricia wants a big, physical, New England style defense, and he wanted to play more ball control and take the ball out of Stafford's hands. And because you have such polar differences, polar opposites, I wasn't sure that would work. I think both of them are bad decisions, to be perfectly blunt. I think both were bad decisions. I liked the Mariucci hire a long time ago, but that really didn't work out. It'll be very interesting to see what Detroit does. Again, I've said this many times. I think the Dorsey, Bieniemy pair in Detroit is the way to go. And you have to spend a lot of money on both. So, Funk talking about replacing Stafford. Interesting. I wouldn't be mad at Lance or Lawrence. Not a fan of Fields. That's interesting. I think Stafford's back is still janky. He's underthrown a lot of balls. It could be. It could be. My personal opinion, I think you build around Stafford. I really do. But if you do cut Stafford, this is the year to do it. It really is. And I think Trevor Lawrence is a guy that is just going to excel. It'll be very interesting. If a team that already has a quarterback gets the first pick in the draft, it'll be very interesting to see who trades up and what will be traded up for him. It'll be very interesting. So, Amazement says Brady will be hell-bent not to lose to Foles again. That Super Bowl hurt him the most. Amazing how driven he is at this age. This is exactly what we needed on this team. No, you're right. The one thing about Bruce Arians is his offense has always been kind of an old school offense. He wanted to run the ball and then throw deep, which Brady can't do anymore. Brady's more of a dink and dunk passer at this stage in his career, but that drive, that intelligence is exactly kind of the shot in the arm, what you need. And you already have a pretty good defense in play. This is going to be an interesting game. Since you're new to my channel, at least I haven't seen you coming in here before. We do a lot of sports betting talk. I'd love to know what you feel about this game. I'm going to start breaking down the games here. I just want to get all the comments. My favorite thing in the world is to just talk football. You got a question, I got an answer. I answer all my comments. So I'm just going in order, and then I'm going to break down all the games. Some of them aren't listed like Chiefs Raiders, but I do want to talk a lot about Thursday night. And I'd love to know if you put action down, you don't have to be in the sports betting. You do not have to be in sports betting. But one thing I say is that, hey, look, I call myself an expert on football, but I put my money where my mouth is. Okay. And I show you my bet slips and I show you what I make. I'm down for the year, but I put down $1,000 preseason and it looks like it's going to collect. I'm going to cut that short here, but if you're into sports betting, what do you think about Thursday Night Football? Is this a game you would put action on? The line's a little weird. I have my opinion. I'll go over that shortly here. You can call me Funk, says Caldwell was garbage. He inherited the entire roster year one, had a GM in Mayhew that let him take Ebron over Donald, even though every scout team member wanted Donald. He was 4-23 against teams of 500 record. Congratulations. He was good against bad teams. I liked Mayhew. I did not like Caldwell. Kind of weird, I know. Oh, Alex, I completely forgot about this. I completely forgot about Dabo Swinney, and I did hear about this. I did hear about it, and I'll talk about briefly For those of you who don't know, Dabo Swinney's the head coach of Clemson, and he said publicly many times he has no interest in going pro. And I kind of believe that for the most part, but he loves Deshaun Watson, and it would be very interesting to see if he has player control, if that would work. I wouldn't recommend Dabo Swinney, who's been public not wanting to be a pro coach. And you have to understand with Swinney, he's more of a recruiter than an X's and O's guy. Normally, I don't think college guys would do well in the pros, but him and Deshaun Watson bringing together a college type of system, he has to get the right personnel in the front office in play. So you would need multiple guys in the front office with Swinney. And Clemson, I think, is paying Swinney something like $10 million a year. So you have to open up the pocketbook. The contract, what was it? It was 7 years, like $60 million that they gave the Panthers coach Matt Rule. They gave him a 7-year, $60 million deal. It's $8.5 million a year. You have to spend more than that. Plus, you have to buy out the Clemson contract. So I mean, you're probably spending, I'd say, at least $20 million on a coach, and you have to make sure that, again, the general manager, the front office, he doesn't have any NFL experience. So how is that going to work? I don't think this will happen, but I have heard that. Dabo Swinney's never mentioned any interest in coming to the NFL, but would he come to the Texans to work with Deshaun Watson, especially since he gets Deshaun Watson for 4 years? I think it would be tempting. If you're asking me, do I think Dabo Swinney's leaving Clemson? The answer is no, because they have a pipeline of top talent coming in. Now, if they have a recruiting drought, or after Lawrence leaves, is he worried that he may not have the talent coming in to be able to be at a national championship level? Maybe. There's also been this is old rumors, but the SEC wants to expand to 16 games and then do like a Final Four, run it just like the NFL. They want 14 divisions in the SEC. Well, who's the most logical choice to join the SEC? Well, it's Clemson. So if Clemson joins the SEC, does Swinney really want to be a part of that, or is he happy just dominating the ACC? It'll be very interesting. If you're asking me, do I think Swinney takes the job for the Houston Texans? The answer is no, I don't think so. But if Clemson's trying to go to SEC, if Swinney wants to play, really, it'd be interesting. I would love to see it personally, just a fan. But do I think it's happening? No, I do not. Who are the leading MVP candidates? Who's a dark horse candidate for MVP? Great question. Amazement 717. Russell Wilson's front runner. Russell Wilson's it, plain and simple. Guys that are in the talks, you have to mention Josh Allen. You have to mention Aaron Rodgers, and you have to mention Patrick Mahomes. Those three guys are going to be involved. Now, keep in mind, it's all going to be the injuries, okay? Injuries, or if you're in Kansas City, Stephen Gilmore for the Patriots also tested positive for COVID, and at the end of the game, there's a picture of Gilmore and Patrick Mahomes hugging, so people are now freaking out in Kansas City. But bottom line, it's who's going to play all 17 games. That's key, especially this season. Russell Wilson's a front runner. I think it's really Russell Wilson's year to be MVP unless his play drops off. As far as a dark horse candidate, that's kind of interesting. Dark horse candidate. I'd be shocked if it happened, but I'll throw out a dark horse for you, a complete dark horse. And I don't think it'll happen, but Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett looks like he's playing at a defensive MVP level. I remember him from Texas A&M. I thought that he was a more athletic version of Von Miller, and he is. And I think he's soft against the run. But this is a guy, as far as a pure pass rusher, is unbelievable. And with offensive tackles going down left and right, this is a guy who you want to talk pure. If you're talking just from a betting standpoint, if you put action, I don't even know if you can, but Myles Garrett would be like a dark horse. But keep in mind, it's only happened twice in NFL history. It's Alan Page and Lawrence Taylor have guys been NFL MVP as defensive player. So a complete dark horse would be Myles Garrett off the top of my head. More than likely, I'd be shocked if it wasn't Russell Wilson. I would be shocked. But right now, it's Russell Wilson's job or award to lose. Josh Allen, Aaron Rodgers, Mahomes are all in there, and I think it's in that order too. I think it's Josh Allen's number 2. I think Aaron Rodgers is 3, and I think Mahomes is 4. Yeah, Funk, 100%. Now, Bill O'Brien's actually very interesting because he coached at Penn State. So, and right now, colleges are hiring. Are paying just as well as the NFL. And as you remember, he went in there when after the scandal. And I'm going to kind of cut the scandals part short of Penn State. I used to be a diehard Penn State fan. Then the scandal happened. Now I can't cheer for him. If you get 50 people anal raped, I'm no longer a fan of your school. But he was able to get Christian Hackenberg, who is the number 1 player in the country, to somehow go to Penn State. And he brought in a lot of top flight talent. So despite of how bad people in Houston hated him, he did a great job at Penn State, and he had some success in the NFL. So he's one of those rare guys that could go to college or to pros. I don't think from what I've seen, I don't think he's a good fit for TV, which is kind of rare because normally an NFL head coach can do pretty good on TV. I don't see that. Maybe he has an interest in doing that. I think he's one of those guys that could take a top. You have to keep in mind, if he does go college, it has to be a Power 5 conference, and it has to be a team that's going to pay him a ton of money. It'll be kind of interesting to see what would happen because, of everything that's going on. But he's one of those rare guys that can go pro or college. So it'll be very interesting to see. He could just sit out and then take the best NFL or college job. I think it'll be interesting to see because I could actually see him going to the college ranks because there could be an SEC school that wants a Bill O'Brien to come because the guy can recruit. The guy can recruit and the guy can coach. So college may be the year, or college may be the route for him. Okay, I remember. Yeah, you can't drop 3 passes. O'Brien may get a coordinator job. I don't think so. I think that he's one of those guys that could go to college and get a head coaching job. He may sit out. Could he go as an offensive coordinator? Absolutely. 100%. I mean, he would be a good offensive coordinator, but I think that because he has the opportunity to go to college and he had a lot of success at Penn State or pro, he's one of those guys I think that could do either. College head coaches make just as much. And then there's also talk about like Mike just said, there's talk about Dabo Swinney leaving Clemson. Well, who's a guy who could replace Dabo Swinney? Well, Bill O'Brien would be a guy that could come in and replace Dabo Swinney at Clemson. If there's a guy like Jim Harbaugh, let's say he wants to take a shot at the pro ranks, or Lincoln Riley, who's now 1-2 at Oklahoma, if he wants to go pro, Bill O'Brien's a guy that could come in. So I think that he may take a shot at the college ranks. It'll be interesting to see. My thoughts on the Colts defense, they are feeling, they're feeling disrespected. And I haven't had a chance to go over the games yet, but I really want to see how they do this. This fly is driving me nuts. I want to see how they do this week against Cleveland. I want to see how they do against Cleveland. And it will be very, very interesting to see what they do. Because that's kind of what I'm looking at right now. But I'm not sold on them. I keep hearing how good they are, and I know they got talent, and I absolutely loved the player they traded the first round pick for, Buckner, and then with Justin Houston, I love that. I mean, they have a lot of good things going on in on that defense, but no, I'm not sold on them yet. I want to see how they do against Cleveland. I mean, I expect them to win. Spoiler alert. I expect them to beat the Browns, but do they beat them like 21-7, or is it a 34-28 shootout? If it's 34-28 shootout, I think the Colts just need to go, well, just slow down. But let people that think that the Colts have this 85 Bears defense or one of the top 5 defenses in football, I think really need to pump the brakes a little bit. Yeah, you got a couple pick sixes against the Jets. Why don't you slow down? But let's see how they do against the Browns. And then we'll see here. But my thoughts are they're good, not great. They think that they're great. And I think that they need to pump their brakes a little bit. Bob could land in Detroit or Jacksonville, it seems. That that's actually not, that actually makes a lot of sense. I think Jacksonville makes more sense than Detroit, just my personal opinion. I think that because he's part of the Patriots tree, they kind of want to go in a different direction. But yeah, Brian Kelly, absolutely. There's a lot of talk. Brian Kelly is the offensive coordinator in Carolina. What the deal was is he was with the Saints. They went to LSU as the offensive coordinator. He then took the offensive coordinator position at the Carolina Panthers. He's doing a fantastic job. There's lots of talk about him being a head coach in the NFL. I kind of want to see what Carolina does because I still think that that's a dumpster fire. And I have a bad feeling that if they win 4 or 5 games, then that talk will go away because Carolina was expected to be a bad team and they're now 2-2. He's being built up, but this is a team I think that's going to be bad. So the answer is yes, but let's see how Carolina does because if they lose 4 or 5 games straight, then that talk will go away. And there's a very good chance that may happen. Jets fans say they're getting Sweeney and wow. Trevor, I could see. And then what you do with Sam Darnold would be interesting. Do you even try to trade him? Because if you're going to draft Trevor Lawrence, I think you got to start him right away. Normally, I'd recommend keeping a rookie quarterback on the bench for year one. But I think if you're the number one, if you have number one pick in the draft and you're the Jets, I think you got to start him right away. I don't know Dabo Sweeney, but one thing I do know is he's a very religious guy, and there may be a NFL team that he may go to. I don't think he'll go to the Jets. When you're in the South and you're a religious guy and you're making $10 million a year in the South, you don't want to go to New York, especially for a franchise like the Jets. If they want to make them a deal like Gruden had, where you give up like 3% of the franchise, I can say, okay, Trevor Lawrence going to the Jets, yes. Dabo Sweeney taking an NFL job, maybe. Is he going to New York? No. I can tell you that right now. Jets fans don't understand that. Okay, I've never been to New York. Okay, I've never been to New York. People that live in New York, people that love New York, think that New York's this appeal. And there's a lot of good things about New York. There's also some people that just don't care for New York. And if you're from the South and you're a deeply religious guy, New York probably is not appealing to you. I don't know. I've never talked to Dabo Sweeney. He may be like, New York's a dream come true. But if you're living in South Carolina, I have a hard time, and you're happy in South Carolina and you've been there for a long time, I have a hard time thinking that you're going to find happiness in New York. Trevor Lawrence, yes. Dabo Sweeney, no. If Bob comes to Detroit, I will definitely move on. Funk, come on over and join the Chiefs bandwagon. Join the Chiefs bandwagon. It's ever expanding and getting bigger every single day. You come over to Kansas City. You come over, you be a Chiefs fan from now on. I invite you to be a Chiefs fan. But I don't think that what's going to work. I think that you're going to go in a completely different direction. Keep in mind, you picked Caldwell because the Colts franchise had a lot of success. So then you tried, and this is business 101. You look at the most successful model, and then you want to go ahead and match that model. So what they did is they looked at the most successful model in the NFL, and that is the New England Patriots. But they also observed that that hasn't worked. So what do? You did it with the Colts. You did it with New England. Well, what has the most successful model in the NFL? Well, it's Kansas City Chiefs because Sean McDermott, Matt Nagy, Doug Peterson have all been successful from the Andy Reid tree. I'll throw out a dark horse, Mike Kafka. Mike Kafka, he's the quarterback coach. He's going to be an NFL head coach in the next 2 or 3 years. He's the quarterback coach with the Kansas City Chiefs. He's a dark horse candidate. He's going to be an NFL head coach. There's a chance that he may leapfrog just from quarterback coach to NFL head coach. If you're asking who's the last guy to do that, I don't know the last guy, but I know Andy Reid did it. People really like Mike Kafka, so just throwing that out there. But no, I don't think that they're going to go with the New England tree again. So you're safe there, but join the Chiefs bandwagon. Amazement 717 prediction Bucks 23 Bears 17. Defense gets a stop in the fourth quarter. Defense is going to have to play well and maybe force a turnover to get some good field position since Bears. That's very interesting because the line is Chicago's a 3.5-point dog. The over under is 44.5. So you're looking at an over and Tampa Bay covering. Very interesting. Very, very, very interesting. This is Alex coming in very, very strong. Thing now I hear is the offense is fully Tim Kelly's. What I heard is after Watson and Kelly planned the O side planning, Bob would come in and change large. Well, wow. I know that it's sort of a similar situation in Kansas City. God, what was his name? He was an offensive minded head coach, really smart guy, but he clashed with the GM. And when Romeo Crennel came in, they actually made a switch at quarterback and really dumbed things down in Kansas City quite a bit, and it worked out. And I think that it wouldn't surprise me if he lets Tim Kelly and Deshaun Watson kind of do their own thing. But I think that what they're going to do is just keep things kind of simple. Bill O'Brien's somebody who just seems to always have a very complex scheme. And that's what they did in New England, and that's kind of what I think that they need to do in Houston. Is a lot of times when you go ahead and you bring in an interim head coach, what you really want to do is just dumb things down, get players to react and not think as much. And Romeo Crennel, who's known to have a very complex defense, since he's going to take over as interim head coach, I think he's just going to dumb things down, make things simple. And it wouldn't surprise me if him and Kelly just kind of are able to do their own things. It wouldn't surprise me if Deshaun Watson has a little more freedom than he has in the past to do a lot more audibles. You may disagree with me, but that's kind of what I see coming from Houston in the near future. I have action on over 7.5 wins. So yes, I want to see them do well. Bob also controlled Kelly when it came to play calling, making sure he did what Bob wanted. After that started to falter, he just took over. Yeah, I mean, you have to understand when you're an offensive-minded head coach and you have a new offensive coordinator, you want a lot of control. I think what Romeo Crennel is going to do is just make sure that everything's really simplified, maybe give Deshaun Watson a little more control. It'd be very interesting. It wouldn't surprise me if you see Deshaun Watson doing a lot of audibling. It wouldn't mind to see a lot of RPOs. It wouldn't surprise me if you see a very simplified offense. You may see a lot of hurry up offense. I'm kind of curious what the offense does. On defense, I don't think a lot's going to change, to be perfectly honest. They've always run that Romeo Crennel system. But it'll be very interesting to see what they do on the offensive side of the ball. This is Kelly's offense now. Yeah, well, let's see what happens, man. Mike, you are 100% correct. Lou Holtz did go from South Carolina to the Jets. Did not have a lot of success, and then it was like a few years later. I think he went. I want to say I think he went from the Jets to Notre Dame. I could be wrong on that. Jimmy Johnson, of course, took, University of Miami to, the Dallas Cowboys. It happens. It's kind of rare that a coach does that. Normally it doesn't work. A lot of people are really high on Lincoln Riley. I can get off topic here, but the rumor mill is that Oklahoma has this quarterback next year who's going to be a true freshman. Apparently, there's this high school quarterback who signed with Oklahoma, who's in Washington State in high school, that Oklahoma wants to start next year as a true freshman. So anyway, kind of getting off on a rant there, but normally teams don't do this. It'll be interesting to see what Arizona does with the former Texas Tech head coach. It'll be interesting to see what Arizona does. That situation's a little weird. Pete Carroll, of course, had a lot of success, left USC, but of course, Pete Carroll had a lot of head coaching experience, had no college experience, went to college, did a fantastic job. So of all the coaches in college that I think would have the most success in the NFL, I actually thought Saban may want to give another shot in the NFL, but he would have to have a lot of player control. Could I see him taking over the Houston Texans? I actually could, but he would have to have a ton of player control. He might have to be like the de facto GM. And I don't know, again, same thing with Dabo Swinney. I don't know if Nick Saban wants to leave Alabama, but I don't think Dabo Swinney would be a good fit. Harbaugh would be an interesting choice. So opinion on Bieniemy, he should have been a head coach this year. He'll be an excellent head coach. I think that if I'm the Detroit Lions, he would be the number one guy on my list. And I think he would work great with John Dorsey because they worked together in Kansas City, had a lot of success in Kansas City. That would be my choice. Sorry, my voice getting a little raspy here. Draft Fields. It'll be interesting. They could be in position. It'll be the draft's going to be interesting. Who they get as general manager and head coach is going to be interesting in the direction they want to go. I'll be honest with you. I think they should build around Stafford, but if you are going to let him go, this is the year to do it. So anyway, I am going to share my screen, and I spent a little bit of time. Whoops, my bad. We are going to talk about all the games. I'm going to take my, by the way, you can always email me at thedanshow@yahoo.com. Just a friendly reminder, if you haven't already, don't forget to give me a thumbs up. And if you're new to my channel, I got some new people in here, made some great comments. Please subscribe to my channel. Helps me out quite a bit. Plus, it's also really great to hear from more people in more areas. I'm going to break down an early look at every game. I'm going to offer my opinion. I forgot to mention this. I'm going to go ahead. You don't need to look at me. I know it hurts some people here. I didn't tell you guys this, but I started to get into the story. It was my birthday, so I visited my dad. I came back, and the line on Philly, San Francisco jumped from 7-9. So I put some action down on Philly to cover. They ended up winning, so I obviously won that bet, but I can't prove it because I didn't tell you guys about it. I didn't know until I got back home. Excuse me. So I know I lost on Jacksonville, but I ended up making that money back with Philly. But again, I didn't call my shot, so I feel like. And by the way, if you guys think that I'm lying about it or I'm being dishonest, please let me know. I can handle it, but. I'm just letting you guys know right now that even though I lost on the Jacksonville bet, I did win on Philly, but I also can't prove that. So it'll be very interesting. Well, he's not that old. He's like 30 or 31. By NFL standards, that's not that bad. Bucks are going to beat the Bears tomorrow. Bears may have a new quarterback, just better. I do agree with that, Alex. I do agree about that. Next coach fired. Ooh, that's Gase. Adam Gase, it's any day now. It's any day now. Adam Gase, I was kind of surprised he wasn't fired after Thursday Night Football, to be perfectly honest. But Adam Gase will be next one. Funk is going to say why Fields, and he's referring to one Pride 40. Keep in mind, guys, there's a lot of football left to be played, but is done. I saw it on his face the last sack. A lot of football left. Music City guy, thanks a lot, brother. I had a great birthday, but I got something planned later in the month. I'm going to celebrate my birthday a couple weeks late, but I'm doing something really awesome at the end of the month. Haven't revealed it to anybody. I'm doing something really kick-ass. All right, the game. Over-under is 44.5. It's a very low number, but there are some injuries on the Bucks. That's kind of the reason why. Chicago's a 3.5-point dog. I'd love to know what you guys think. Me personally, I am not going to put action on this game at all. I'm going to enjoy this. I would love to know what you guys think, because me personally, I think that this is a game I kind of want to see. I think Tampa Bay's got the better team, but they're banged up and they're playing on the roads. So I got to post this. You like Fields better than Lawrence? Wow. I'm one Pride 40, man. You know I love you, man. I know you've also been a long time follower of my show, so but I think you're in a big minority there. I think Trevor Lawrence, when everything, and by the way, Lawrence is going to interview really well. But I think that once the combine is over, I think Lawrence will be head and shoulders above everybody else, and it's just a battle of, do you like Fields and I can't remember the other guy now off the top of my head, but there's going to be about 3 to 5 quarterbacks are going to go in the first round, maybe even more. But yeah, and by the way, guys, I'm going to do a ton of draft stuff. So yeah, this I want to hear from you guys who you guys like, because I'm going to do a ton of draft stuff. By the way, this game, I want to know what you guys think. Me, I think I like Tampa Bay. I wouldn't bet it. They have the better team. They're really banged up. Fournette's the key. I think if Fournette, I'll tell you right now, Fournette's healthy and I can get 3, I'm probably taking Tampa Bay. I might actually put action on it, but more than likely I'll ignore it. This is a game I'm putting a lot of thought into. This is a game I really like. Carolina at Atlanta, over-under is 54.5. Carolina's played better defense. I really want to take the over, but I'm not 100% sure on that. But this number has dropped. Atlanta was a 3.5-point favorite. Now it is 2. And as you see in my notes here, I'm really wanting this to drop. I am really wanting this to drop because if I can get a pick 'em, which I don't think I can, but if I can get Atlanta in 1, I think Atlanta wins this game. I think Atlanta, they're at home. I think they get this game. I sort of kind of like the over, but it's a big number. I know scores have been up, but this is a game I'm really watching. As always, I will try to get a video out. I didn't do one last week because I revealed Jacksonville, and that was really the only game. I'm leaning towards I'm making a video Thursday, because I'm not doing a Thursday game. Is that I might make a video Thursday, release it Friday morning, and then kind of go from there. I'm really paying attention to this game. I really like Atlanta. Next game, Rams at Washington. The over-under is 45. Washington's a 7.5-point dog. If you haven't heard, they benched Haskins. They're going with Kyle Allen, who was the quarterback in Carolina when Riviera was coaching in Carolina. Riviera really likes this kid. I think this is a big mistake. I don't like it. However, sometimes when you bench quarterback, it can cause a spark. Sometimes it doesn't work. I still like the over in this game. Probably not enough to bet on it, but 45 is a small number, and the Rams can score some points. If Kyle Allen plays better than Haskins, which I don't think he will, if he does, 45 is a pretty easy number to make. So I am leaning towards this game. Keep in mind, this is a noon game, a West Coast team traveling to the East Coast. So if you are putting action on the Rams, be careful. I'm not going to bet on Washington, but over 45 is pretty solid. I am going to, by the way, Funk, you're right. And I would love nothing more than Alex Smith coming back. I have a huge man crush on Alex Smith. Loved him in Kansas City. So, yes. And let me see here. I think I can put this comment on here. Yeah. Amazement. Yeah. I do like Houston in 6. Okay, the over-under Jacksonville at Houston's 54. It's a 6-point line. I think it's going to jump up. So if you are going to put action on it, I strongly suggest you do it now. As you can see here, and by the way, you're 100% correct. 100% correct. And Alex, that's why I'm going to release. I think I'm going to do a video Thursday night, release it Friday. We'll talk more about this on Friday's show, but I'm kind of giving you an idea. I really want this line to drop. The money line is negative 275, and I would almost never recommend taking a number like that, but I 100% believe Houston's going to win this game. I think it's like a crazy number when a coach takes over. That team does better. It's just 6 is a big number. I think both of them. You're talking about both the rookie quarterbacks. And we talked about this earlier, but what will happen is I think Patricia will go late in the season and Quinn will go probably on Black Monday. But both these guys are going to stay in Detroit for a long time. Bottom line, I'd love to know what you think. One Pride 40, let me ask you something. Would you be happier at 1-3 and both these guys there, or would you be happier at 0-4 and Patricia's gone? Because I think if you're 0-4, you'd have a new head coach. Yeah, that injury really freaked me out. Rams are going to kill him even with the new QB. No, I 100% agree with you, Alex. That's why I like over 45. And I really think that that's a good – you're right. And by the way, it's about Alex Smith. I'm jumping all over the place. I'm jacked up. But – yeah, you're 100% correct, Alex. That's why I like 45. I think there's a good chance the Rams may put up 45. But you have an East Coast or West Coast team traveling to the East Coast for a noon game. I don't like the hook here, but I like the over. And then, like I said, I 100% believe Houston's going to win this game. I completely think they're going to win, but I'm not. 6 is a big number, so I'm not sold, but there's a good chance I may put action on this one. I may just chicken out and do the money line. I may just chicken out and do the money line here because I feel very, very good about this, even though it's a terrible number. Next game, Arizona at the Jets, over under 46.5. I really like the over on this game. I know the Jets haven't put up a lot of points, and Arizona's offense has kind of been stagnant over the last couple of weeks. The Jets being that they're so banged up, and Arizona, I think, really needs to get a win. I also think Gase is on his way out. That said, this is a small number. Points are up all over the league. So I really like this number. I'm kind of hoping it drops a little bit. I may put a small bet on this one, but I am watching this. Right now, my number one bet is this one. And I really think I may get one or a pick 'em. 1-3 and fire up the rebuild. Yeah, I think so too. The Jets are a 7-point dog. I don't like that. Okay. One Pride 40. Quinn, I think, will be fired on Black Monday. He'll get to the end of the year. But I do think, and I can't vouch for the Ford family, but I I really think that his player personnel control is going to be severely limited. I don't think he's going to have the opportunity to make trades, bring in players, but Quinn will keep his job till the end of the year. I think that he'll be fired, if not on Black Monday, near Black Monday. The way I see it happening is Patricia will last till near the end of the season. They may fire him a week or two before Black Monday, but I really think that what you'll see is either Patricia or Quinn or both get fired on Black Monday. And last year I did a Black Monday show. I'll do the same thing this year, but both of them I think are going to be gone. So yeah, they're getting fired. Just it's their job safe for another couple months. Or I mean, more than likely, Patricia will probably be the first to go, but Quinn's not staying there. No, I'd be shocked. No, he has not. Neither one of these guys have done enough to keep their jobs. Next game, I got Philly at Pittsburgh. The line's 44. I don't like this number. I like the over, but both defenses can play. Neither offense is really lit it up. So even though I do like over 44, I'm not going to bet on it. I like Pittsburgh in this game a lot, even though it's technically they technically had a bye week with everything that's going on. I think that they're going to play really mad. Remember, Philly went to San Francisco on a Sunday night game. So yeah, I really like this game. I don't want this touchdown. If this drops probably 6.5, I'll probably put action on Pittsburgh. When is Black Monday? One Pride 40. Black Monday is the Monday right after the regular season is over. They don't have a Monday night game on. They usually don't in 16 or week 17. But the after all the regular season's over, it's Black Monday. I'll do a show, and Patricia and Quinn will both be fired on Black Monday. If Patricia is not fired before Black Monday, he will be fired on Black Monday. Yeah, absolutely. Pittsburgh's going to win this game, and they also have a bye. I don't like 7. I think that this is going to drop to 6.5, and I might take Pittsburgh in 7. I don't want to, but Pittsburgh's definitely going to win this game. There's zero doubt in my mind. You got a team that's freshly rested, healthy, going against a really banged up team that played a Sunday night game on the West Coast. No way that Philly wins this game. However, I don't want to put 7. I really want 6.5. I really want 6.5. If you get 6.5, I'll probably take that. I would like Elliott Wolf or Louis Riddick's an interesting name. I did not think about that. After Mike Mayock leaving the NFL Network, Louis Riddick's interesting. Daniel Jeremiah, who's the host of the Move the Sticks podcast, something I'm not associated with the NFL Network, but I love the Move the Sticks podcast, and I love Daniel Jeremiah. That's also an interesting choice. I've said John Dorsey several times because he was in the Ron Wolf system in Green Bay for like 20 years before he came to Kansas City. And so he's very familiar with the NFC North, spending a lot of time in Green Bay. And if you watched what he did in Kansas City, what he did in Cleveland, he totally rebuilt these rosters. And I think that in Detroit, I think that you might have to rebuild this roster, but I'm thinking you have to rebuild it more on the defensive side than you would the offense. But if you do blow up the offense, get rid of Stafford, you want a guy who's very experienced like Dorsey. So if you're wanting a rookie quarterback, you want somebody like Dorsey who's familiar with blowing up that roster. Music City guy, I'll take the New York Giants versus Dallas and the over. I'm glad you said that because Dallas is a 9.5 point favorite, and I do like the Giants to cover in this game. However, I'm actually thinking just the opposite. I'm actually thinking that this number is going to rise up, and I might take the under. And the reason why I say this is because Dak Prescott's thrown for a lot of yardage, but he hasn't gotten a lot of wins. And I think that what they're going to do is try to slow the game down, which is against really what Dallas really wants to do. Dallas kind of wants to run that same system. I'm drawing a complete brain freeze here on the guy's name. I was just talking about him too. I apologize, guys. I forget names from time to time, so I apologize. I forget name Mike McCarthy. So with Mike McCarthy running the offense there in Dallas, that's the system that he ran in Green Bay, where it's 3 wide receivers, a lot of passing. But what they may want to do is try to shorten this game up. So I kind of think that this will be an interesting game. I know that taking an under is risky, but I have a feeling this may be a low-scoring game. I'm going to watch out for this one. But, yeah, as far as the Giants, I do like this. If it gets up to 10, I may take the Giants, even though they haven't played good. One Pride 40 is asking, is it Bieniemy calling the plays or is it Andy Reid? It's kind of funny because they kind of keep that a mystery. The way I understand it, Eric Bieniemy's calling the plays, but Andy Reid can exercise veto rights, and Mahomes has more audible privileges than he has in before. And that's standard when you have a quarterback that's been in usually year 1 and year 2, you're not allowed to call audibles. Then year 3, if you know the offense well enough and you're in, then you can go ahead and have audible control. It's kind of a mystery, but from what I've gathered, it's actually Eric Bieniemy calling the plays, and Andy Reid has some control. And this year, more than any other year, Patrick Mahomes has more audible control than he has in the past. My boy Mike Buffa, Dorsey, great talent evaluator, not much of a GM. Not only is he is a great talent evaluator. I heard that when the draft was going on, that it was like the 3rd or the 4th round, and he was nailing every single player for each team. And if you ever watch the draft, that is so hard to do. That is almost impossible. He has such a blueprint. But yes, he had some problems with player contracts, but I understand why he did some of the things in Kansas City. I'm kind of not going to go off track, but I'm going to tell you this right now, Mike. There's not 15 better general managers than John Dorsey in the NFL. There's not. So John Dorsey, I think, would be a great spot. Oh, wow, Alex. I would love nothing more than that. If the line keeps on climbing up, I may take the Giants. If the Giants do win, this under is going to have to hit. And I kind of like the under, but I'm not taking under 54, not with Dallas, because Dallas could easily score 40 or give up 40. Very, very entertaining team, but not a very good team. I'm also keeping O-line, but only skill positions I'm keeping on O is Hawkins Swift. No, you're right. And that's kind of why I really like Dorsey, because I think that team's a team that really needs to be blown up in a lot of areas. And that's kind of why I like Dorsey, because that defense you got. I really think the Lions are a team, whoever takes over as GM and head coach is really going to blow that team up. I think that's why you keep Stafford, rebuild around Stafford, and then you rebuild around Stafford, and then you because that defense is, I think you really need to do something different on defense. And I think offensively you can, it'll be kind of interesting to see what the coach wants to do. But more than anything, I think on defense, you just need to just take a bomb to that whole defense. My opinion only. Yeah, I could actually see the same thing. So McCarthy should adjust it. Yes, exactly. That's kind of why I like the under on this game. And yeah, plus 50. Mike, hey, by the way, Mike, give me a thumbs up. And by the way, guys, if you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. This is a game I want to spend a little more time talking about. Indianapolis at Cleveland, over unders 46. I like over 46, and I do like Indianapolis to win. Indianapolis is a 1.5 point favorite on the road. I'm not buying into the Browns being good. I actually thought Dallas would win at home. I think that's more indicative on Dallas being bad than the Browns being good. I'm not sold on the Colts having a top five defense, but their defense is significantly better than the Dallas Cowboys. So I really like this game. I do think some points are going to be scored. That's kind of the reason why the over under is 46. So I personally really like this game. I'm going to keep an eye out on this one. I'm going to kind of do some little more research. I am fully aware Nick Chubb is out, but Kareem Hunt is really good. And that backup running back, and I can't remember his name, he's pretty damn good too. He's pretty damn good too. But this is a game I like. I like the Colts to win this game. So if I like a team to win, I usually will take under 3. So I like the 1.5. I'll be honest though, I like the over more because I think points are going to be scored. I'm not buying into the Colts having this great defense. Why not? Okay. Why not build around a great left tackle? It's actually smart. I know he's a good one. I don't know if he's elite, and you gave him a lot of money. You could easily do that, and it's a smart thing to do. The thing is that you can't get rid of him. So I'm not suggesting you get rid of Decker. I'm not saying that at all. But I think that the reason why you want to keep Stafford is because I think you got to take an atom bomb to that defense. And I also think you need to shake a lot of things up around your left tackle. But this also is the reason why Detroit's a good job to have, because you do have a good left tackle. You do have a good quarterback. All right. You do have a young corner, Okudah, who's got a lot of talent. And then you also have some players on defense, but I think ultimately take an atom bomb to the defense. And then depending on what type of scheme you run on offense and what type of coach you get, if you get a guy like Leftwich, if he's going to run the same system that you're running in Tampa Bay, then you basically want to keep almost that same offense, and you build, and then you basically take an atom bomb to the defense, and that's kind of what I think. But it'll be interesting to see what they can do. You're not getting rid of Decker, but I'm just saying I would suggest you keep Stafford. So. Okay, hold on, Alex. Alex, are you telling me the Browns have a better defense than the Colts? Because I don't see that at all. Can you clarify that, because I'm a little confused on this part. I can't highlight it, but the Colts have a worse defense. Rivers is inconsistent, but you really think the Browns have a better defense than the Colts? Can you clarify that? A coked up. Yeah. Well, Hunt's a top 10 running back. He is a top 10 running back, and this is going to be a fun game. I do think the Colts will win this game. I'm not buying into Cleveland at all. Yeah, and this is Decker, yeah. More and more teams are not really running a 3-4 or 4-3. Most teams are running nickel defense. And that's kind of what I see. And I think that what Patricia's biggest problem was, he wanted to run that 3-4 Patriots man defense. And if you're going to run that, you have to do what Miami did or what New England does, and you have to spend a lot of money on corners. You don't draft rookie corners and then play a defense that's predicated on corners. That's why I think that Quinn and Patricia are just on different pages. I think Quinn thinks that you can take a rookie corner, throw him in that complex man defense, and that will work. It doesn't work. And so what Patricia did against Arizona is he adapted, played some more zone. I haven't had a chance to watch that Saints game, But I know a lot of people are really mad because I was watching that and I'm like, Lions are up 14-0. Man, I should bet the over because I knew the Saints were going to score some points. So, yeah. And by the way, I think the Colts are overrated also, but I still think they're better than Browns. I don't think the Colts or the Browns are really playoff caliber teams. Will one of them make the wild card? Yeah, but neither one of them are really that good. So this is more me wanting the Colts to lose. The Browns have an inconsistent defense. I think the Colts defense isn't going to do it. Okay. Oh no, I get you. I get you. Yeah, okay. Can they match up against the Browns? The Browns have so many weapons on offense, but I think that their best offensive player is Nick Chubb. I really do. It's not OBJ. He's the biggest name, but I think Nick Chubb's the best player. I also think that they took advantage of a soft, weak Dallas team. Keep in mind that week 1 loss. I know they won 3 straight, but that's the type of team that I see in Cleveland. That if you play a decent team, that they'll just kind of fall apart. This is going to be a fun game to watch. I like the Colts. But I like the over more. I think points will be scored in this game. That's kind of why I like over 46. Yeah, I am too, Music City guy. I really want to see this game. This is going to be a fun one. Yeah. I apologize. I was kind of going off in a lot of different directions there. So Minnesota at Seattle. The over under is not 5. It's 57.5. Seattle's a 7-point favorite. These are just big numbers, and that's kind of why I'm going to leave that alone. If it dropped a little bit to over under, I'd probably take the over. Minnesota has a bad defense. Russell Wilson is the NFL MVP. So that's kind of what I see out of this game. I'm not touching this one. And then I got the Chargers at the Saints. The over under is 51. A lot of people are building up the Chargers defense, but as you saw against Tampa Bay, it's not a great defense. And I think that the Saints defense was, I was really surprised about, to tell you the truth. It could happen. It really could happen. It wouldn't surprise me, but I think that Minnesota's a team that's going to start getting things turned around. I do have a Mike Zimmer crush. So, but that over under is high. If it was 6.5, I'm probably putting action on it. I don't touch 7. This I really like, and I really want to keep falling. The lower it gets, the more likely I am to bet. I really like this because I think the Saints can put up points, and I think the Chargers can score against a weak Saints defense. I think a lot of people are still convinced that the Saints have a really, really good defense. They are not playing like it at all. And by the way, I'm on my bookie right now. This has dropped the 1. Right now, if you take the Falcons -1, it's -125. I am going to, that's last week. This is my number 1 game, and I really like one. I'll do a video Thursday night, but I'm going to keep watching because if I can get a pick 'em, I'll do it. But it's already dropped the 1. Everything else, to the best of my knowledge, has stayed the same. This has dropped to 270. This is another really good bet. I just hate the number. And this actually went up, which sucks for me because I want under, but Let's see what else here. A lot. If you noticed, I am missing several games, and I'm using my bookie. So I think that with the COVID scare, that's changed a lot of things. But these are all the games that are listed on my bookie right now. And oh wow, we have it. What the hell? Um, You know what? Let me show you something here, and bear with me just 1 second. I'm gonna show you something kind of weird. Are you guys seeing anything? Uh, all right, sorry guys. Are you guys hearing me okay? Just to make sure you guys hearing me okay. Uh, According to this, it said the audio was removed. So make sure you're hearing me okay. If somebody don't mind, can somebody leave a comment to make sure that you can hear me okay? I'm going to do something really fast here. I don't know if I can get in trouble or not. Okay, I'm back. Okay, thanks, Mike. By the way, okay, I want to show you something right here. This 180.03. Okay, here's the deal. I did put action on Philly. So you're going to say, hey, Dan, where's that money? Well, somebody I know wanted $100 bet on the election. And I believe I can show that. Open bets. And this is not a political channel, but a friend of mine gave me cash to make this bet. I'm not going to talk politics here, but the reason why I want to show you this is see this right here? It's for here, right? And I'm not going to put action on it. But when you go back, and this is what threw me off, here it's 3.5. So I don't know if you saw that or not, but one, you can either take 3 or 3.5 or 4. I'm not exactly sure why that is, but apparently it's two separate bets. So even though it says I have 180, my account balance is really 280. A guy gave me $100 cash. I put $100 on the presidential election. Again, not a political channel, but I do have to admit I'm not a fan of. Oh wow. The number actually went up to plus 145. So yeah, maybe we should have waited. If the person who has Mike, I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure. That's why it threw me off. And if the person who's putting action on the election wants 145, please let me know because it's been going up. I thought 135 was kind of crazy, but 145's higher. So if you're watching and you want to put extra action on, I don't know if I can cancel that bet. I've never tried it before, but if you do want extra action, let me know. Why do Patriot? It's basically just the Patriot way works with Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick is, as far as I'm concerned, the greatest coach in the history of football, and it works with Bill Belichick, and it's completely different than any other system. He has certain players at certain age groups and certain stars, and it's a big system. You can have a certain amount of stars. And it's really weird because he has his team built with a certain amount of players at each age level. And he gets rid of star players in their prime, which is so hard to do. Teams can't do it. Franchises can't do it. But Bill Belichick did it, and he's been successful doing it. He's the only one who can do it. I think that going the Patriot way, I think it can only be done in New England. And when Belichick retires, I think that whoever takes over will try to do the same thing, and I think will fail. because the way he did it is so unusual and so unique. Because it's really strange if you have, like, let's say 6-star players, and the Belichick way means you only have 5. You have to pick a star and release them, and then you have to have a certain amount of players. It's so structured and it's so different, because what teams do is they get emotionally invested in players that go downhill. When a player gets older, they don't get better. For example, Travis Kelce. He's 30 now, and he's still one of the best tight ends in football. This plays, I've noticed that he's lost a step. He signed a 4-year extension. That's what teams usually do. You have a Hall of Fame caliber player, you want to keep him. The New England Patriots take a player like Travis Kelce, and he'd probably be gone. So, yeah, exactly. Exactly, Alex. You're 100% correct. It can never be replicated. Teams have tried to do it. They tried it in Kansas City. They tried it with the Jets. They're actually doing something sort of similar in Miami. I don't think Bill O'Brien really took that approach in Houston, but yeah, you're right. By the way, Vrabel was pissed. If you remember, Mike Vrabel, he was traded to Kansas City because Scott Pioli, who was the general manager of the Patriots, he took over as general manager of the Chiefs. He traded for Mike Vrabel, and Vrabel was pissed. He didn't want to be traded. He was really mad, and only stayed in Kansas City for a little bit. And are they doing something similar? Yeah, they are. Not exactly, but yeah, they're doing something very similar. But keep in mind, the Patriot way is not giving Derrick Henry $50 million. That's something Bill Belichick wouldn't do. Now, that said, I think that Bill Belichick will sign Cam Newton to a 2 or 3 year deal. It's got to be cap friendly. I think it'll be like a 3-year, $45-50 million deal, something like that, with incentives to get them up to like 60 or 65. But the NFL contracts, the way they are right now, Mahomes getting $500 million and 40 million a year going to Watson. And by the way, that's also going to be another thing, is that when Dak Prescott, because of the stats he's putting up, he's going to ask for about 50 million a year. I think he may get it. So it'll be very interesting to see what goes on. So, but yeah, that's the reason why the only person that can do it's Bill Belichick. And that's why I think he's the greatest coach of all time. And I think the dynasty for the Patriots is dead, that they're not going to win another Super Bowl. But I thought that they would win the AFC East. They may or may not. I thought with a healthy Cam Newton, they have a chance. And if he can come back. By the way, before people want to crown the Bills the AFC East champions, not this week, but next Thursday, they host Kansas City. And that's going to be a very fun game, and we can find out how how good is Buffalo, because I think Buffalo will win. Matter of fact, the Bills game is not on my list, is it? Do I have the Bills game? No, the Bills game's not on my list. The Bills I'm positive they're playing. Oh, I'm sorry. And that game's outside, but the Bills are playing at Tennessee. If the Bills beat Tennessee in Tennessee, Kansas City's going to beat the Raiders. If both teams are undefeated, that's going to be a game to put action on. Music City guy, do I see? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think a team's going to give him about 50 million a year. I really do. It'll be interesting to see where he gets it from. Keep an eye on Chicago. Depending on who takes over in Detroit, he may want to go ahead and get rid of Stafford, sign Dak. Teams are going to get new head coaches will be very, very interesting. It'll be very, very interesting. So, but yeah, I think Dak will get his money, and I think it will be outside of Dallas. I really do. I really do. But I will say this: if Dak signs with Dallas, I think it'll really screw things up, and then I think Mike McCarthy will be gone, and it'll be just a complete train wreck. I think Dak Prescott playing the way he's doing is actually putting a wrench in what Dallas wants to do. Bills will handle the Chiefs. Very interesting, Mike. The last couple times they've played, the Chiefs have won, even up in Buffalo. Andy Reid has an excellent record against his former coaches. So I don't see that at all. I don't see that at all. But yeah, I'm a Chiefs fan. I keep in mind the Bills defense has some injuries. So if they go into this game with an injury in their secondary, that's going to be big. That's going to be big. I'm not sold on the Bills yet. I want to see how they do against Tennessee, but if they do win against Tennessee, that game's going to be interesting. The go-ahead line is Chiefs in 3.5. And I think that if both teams go into this game undefeated, I think it'll stay at 3.5. If the Bills lose, then it could be like at 6, maybe 6.5. And then I'd be like, oh, let's slow down. The over-under on that game would probably be the best bet. I could see that number being very high. I think the over-under on that game could be 58. I think it'll open at like 56.5 and jump up. I could see that. He did not look good in that Houston game. He looked really scared. You tell me. Because he looked scared in that game. He looked scared. And I actually had action on that game. I had Houston, and I don't advise betting on playoff football, but I really thought Houston had a better team. I think it was like 2.5. But I ended up collecting. I think it was 2 or 2.5. I ended up collecting. Houston did win that game. Of course, went in overtime, but Josh Allen did not play well. Of all the AFC quarterbacks, Josh Allen in the playoffs was easily the worst one. He's having a good year. But yes, you're right. He needs to show that he can play in the playoffs because he did not look good last year. Exactly, Alex. And you have to understand what Dallas has always done. And the only time they didn't do this was when Jimmy Johnson was there. But they've always given stars a lot of money. Then they don't have a lot of depth, and it looks like they're going to continue to do that trend. And that's why, like, one player gets injured, then the whole team really falls apart. And if you get Dak, and if I'm Dak Prescott, I'm holding the Cowboys for ransom because the Cowboys should have signed him this year if he was their guy, but he obviously isn't their guy. Now he's putting up these numbers. He's going to get big money. I think what Dallas wants to do is bring in somebody else to run the McCarthy system, but it's kind of funny. Somebody brought this up that with the success Rodgers is having in Green Bay and the lack of success McCarthy's having in Dallas, it's kind of showing that who's more responsible for Green Bay's success all those years. And maybe McCarthy was a big reason why Rodgers only has one ring. So Bills handle the Chiefs. Blasphemy. I kind of like the Bills and Josh, but no. Plus Chiefs get Rashad Breeland. Between now and what happens injury-wise is going to be big. Both these teams come in healthy. Kansas City's easily the better team. It'll be very, very interesting. But Mike's been high on the Bills, and this wasn't just this week or just some trash talk. He's really been high on the Bills. The Bills have some really good players on defense, but I think that in the AFC, I think it's Kansas City and Baltimore. Everybody else is a notch below. I'm not even 100% sure they can hang with Tennessee on the road. That's going to be a fun game. Not going to be it's going to be a challenge. And keep in mind, the Bills really haven't played anybody. They had the Rams that went from the West Coast to the East Coast. It depends on how good you think the Rams are. If you think the Rams are a playoff team, then maybe it was a good win. A lot of people feel like it was a bad call. I don't know. But bottom line, I'm not sold on the Bills yet. Mike is. After that sack from Watt, he isn't playing with the same Wagger. I can tell you that that might be a guy that you might want to let go. JJ Watt, he may be a guy that you just say, hey, look, we might have to go into full rebuild mode. And to be perfectly honest, how good would he be with another team? Personally, for fun, I mean, even though I would hate it and love it at the same time, for him to go to Pittsburgh with his two brothers, maybe where he ends up going, it wouldn't surprise me if Watt is out of Houston after this year. He's not the same player he was a couple of years ago. He's not even close. A couple of years ago, he might have been the best player I've ever seen play on the defensive side of the ball. He's not the same guy. He's not the same guy. In the playoff game against Kansas City, he was a complete liability. And I say this as a guy who's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. Those 3 years were 2 of those years he had over 20 sacks. He may have been the best defensive player I've ever seen. That includes Lawrence Taylor, but he's not the same guy. As good as Aaron Donald is, Watt's better. But right now, is he one of the best, 15 defensive players in football? I don't think so. And that whole situation, but it wouldn't surprise me if JJ Watt was not a Houston Texan after this year. And that may not be a bad thing for both the Texans and Watt. Mike, Bucks versus Bills in the Super Bowl. And that would be a good game. Injuries are going to be key. I don't think the Bills are ready yet. I really don't think the Bills are ready yet. I love what Josh Allen's doing. The defense is banged up, but when healthy, talented. I'm not sold on the Bills. And the Bucks, they need to get healthy. But in the NFC, if you want to say Green Bay's the front runner or Seattle's the front runner, I think it's still too soon to tell. But would I take Tampa Bay over Green Bay or Seattle right now? No, I wouldn't. So. Not sure if you can use the game against the Titans as a game. No. You can, because let me just bring this up real fast. The Titans are the best team Buffalo's played so far. Okay. You got the Jets at the Dolphins, who they only won by 3. It was a good game. A 3-point win against the Rams. And even though it was a 7-point win against the Raiders, one of those touchdowns was late. Out of these 4 teams, if you want to say that the Titans are better than the Rams, sure, but it's in Tennessee. So, yeah, even despite the COVID situation, this is a gauge game. If they come in and they blow the Titans out, then yeah, but if this ends up being a close game, the real litmus test is going to be the Chiefs on Thursday Night Football in Buffalo. But yeah, you can use this game as a gauge. I do disagree, because the Titans are the best team they've played. If you want to say the Rams, I get that. But the Rams, West Coast team traveling to the East Coast. Is it good that Buffalo came back after blowing a 28-3 point lead, or is it bad that they lost a 28-3 point lead in the first place? And they needed which some people say is a questionable call. I could argue that, but it looked like it was a pass interference. But it'll be interesting. It will be interesting. Well, Watt, okay, we have differences of opinion here. Mike Buffa says Watt getting traded makes a lot of sense. In all fairness, he was coming back from injury against the Chiefs. And no, you're 100% correct. He tried to tough it out, but he wasn't. He was really a liability. He shouldn't have played. I think they let him go out there because he's JJ Watt, and they were hoping that just his name would help the team get motivated. But yeah, him getting traded does make a lot of sense, because I think you need to bring in personnel and a coach, and I'm not just talking like a GM. You need like a GM, director of scouting. There's a lot of personnel that needs to be taken in with the Houston Texans, not just the GM. So I mean, there's a lot of things going on, and Alex has a difference of opinion. Watt will stay because of his importance to the organization and the city. The ownership will do anything. Alex, I will disagree with you. And the reason why I say that is because there's so many stars that have ended their career with, different teams. I mean, Tom Brady. I mean, Watt's a big name and everything. Is he as big as Tom Brady? No. Tom Brady's playing with Tampa Bay. So for you saying that Watt has to stay because of his importance to the organization, I don't think so, because I think the Houston Texans, they're not just going to hire a GM. They're going to hire a new director of scouting. They're going to hire a new GM. They're going to hire maybe anywhere from 5 to 12 new front office personnel that's going to just look at JJ Watt as ground zero. They're not going to look at what he's done in the past, and that's one of the cool things about the NFL. The Patriot way that we were just talking about is getting rid of players that are stars that start having a decline, and nobody, even you, who's probably a diehard JJ Watt fan, is going to sit here and tell me that, Watt's as good of a player as he was. I'm sorry, I'm going to put this up real fast here. It just cracked me up to you long. Wow. Okay. Hey, Alex, do you longboard surf? Watt already has 5 sacks at this point, gets a sack a game, 1 against the Chiefs, 2 against Raven, 1 against Steelers. He's still good. No. Alex, I'm not saying he's not good. He's just not the best defensive player in football good anymore. His play has dropped. He's not the same player. And yes, he's still good, but the thing is, though, you have to realize that the front office personnel and the coaching staff that's going to come in 2021 doesn't have the ties to him that the old coaching staff does. I mean, you're going to get a brand new front office personnel, and is he? I know he's making $100 million a year. I want to say it's a 6-year, $100 million deal. Is he still worth $17 million a year? That's debatable. Is he willing to? But this is kind of what I'm looking at. In my by the way, friendly teasing and trash talking is encouraging. Nobody is allowed to be insulting to anybody else here. You can insult me. I don't mind. You can insult me to a point. So, and by the way, I'm really glad that you guys are doing some friendly trash talking. I love it. I think it's great. But I could see Watt moving on from Houston, but it'll be something that'll have to be discussed later in the season. Keep in mind if Watt gets injured again. That's another thing. I think it'd be kind of cool to meet up with his brothers in Pittsburgh, which may not be as surprising as you think. I think he'd really like to work with Tomlin. I also think he'd probably take a pay cut to be in Pittsburgh. It's just something interesting. If I remember, I know he went to school in Wisconsin, but I think his family comes from I want to say the Jersey area. I could be mistaken there. So, One Pride 40, you should look up Jalen Twyman from Pittsburgh, a monster. I haven't had a chance to watch a lot of college. This is not a player I've actually heard of yet. In my college, I'm going to dive into the draft quite a bit, but I haven't. I don't think that I'm not going to be able to do as much college football as I'd like to do, but I'm going to do a ton of draft stuff. Thank you for letting me know, though. I will keep an eye on him. Do you know if he's a first round prospect? I haven't heard his name yet. That's another thing, Mike. Mike Buffa mentions Watt does get injured a lot. You are correct. Staying healthy is a big deal. Staying healthy is a big deal. Denver Gator. I love getting some love from Denver fans here. Love the NFL content. Even if you are a Chiefs fan, just wanted to say Denver Gator. I want some Denver content. I'm going to give you a heads up. I think you mentioned in the comments here. Here's the drill with Denver. Fangio is going to be gone. Elway, I think, is 50-50. But there's a lot of talent and some good things to come from Denver in the future. This is it's just a bad year from you guys. But yeah, man, I'm glad I got some Denver fans in here. A lot of respect for the organization. Depending on how long of a fan you've been, it was a total disgrace that Pat Bowlen had. It took him so long to be in the Hall of Fame. He should have been in the Hall of Fame about 20 years sooner. So yeah. Yeah, but I'm glad I got some Denver fans here. A lot of respect for the Denver franchise, but they're going to make some changes when the season's up. I don't think Fangio is going to be there, and I think Elway's a coin flip. Man, I got some trash talk in here. How much is Stafford worth in a trade? That's a tough one. Not as much as I think you would think. I'll be honest. It's probably one of those things where a lot of different factors. Realistically, at the end of the season, if he plays well and he's healthy, second or third. And the reason why I say that is because he is over 30. He does have the contract. There's so many factors that would be put in play, but I think the maximum you would get for Stafford would be a second. You could have something ridiculous like a third or a fourth, just because of the contract that's in play. But again, I think the move should be to keep Stafford in Detroit, but his trade value is not as much as you would think. It will increase if he plays well and he plays all 16 games. If he's injured at all, then I think the maximum you'd be is a third. I think if he stays healthy and plays well, you're looking at a second. A low second, be under 50. You're not getting a high second for him. Boof. Jordan from I just want to see. Hey man, listen. Dude, I understand. I understand. There. I mean, as a Chiefs fan, there's a lot of really good Chiefs players that left. Justin Houston, one of my all-time favorite players, is now playing in Indianapolis, and he's playing at high level too. One of my all-time favorite Chiefs players. It sucks, but I'm telling you right now, it's not as unlikely as you think, and a lot of it's going to have to depend with the front office personnel, and a lot of it's also going to depend on Watt. It wouldn't surprise me if this team's bad and he doesn't like the coach, that he wants to leave. That's another reason why I like Todd Bowles. Is I think Todd Bowles is a guy who would really. He's always been a guy who players have loved playing for, and I think Bowles is a guy that him and Watt would really get along. Don't underestimate Watt wanting to take a pay cut and go into Pittsburgh playing with his brothers, and that defense would be very interesting with Watt. And Pittsburgh's always been a team that likes veterans. So, I know he played at Wisconsin. I don't know if he's from Wisconsin. I love the friendly trash talking. I think more than Stafford, they just need the right GM head coach combo. I think you get the right combo. I think you keep Stafford there. If Bob was the coach and GM, he could trade Watt to Steelers for a lifetime supply. That sounds like a Bill O'Brien. I think that even though he was GM, he wouldn't have the authority to trade Watt. I think at the end of the year, Watt's one of those players that he could go into the Houston front office and say, "Hey, look, I'm done," and I think he has enough pull that he could go ahead and and leave. So, uh, I know you're okay. One Pride 40 says, ouch, he's referring to Stafford's trade value. It's not that high. Another thing you have to consider is that this is a good quarterback draft coming out. It looks like there's a minimum of 3. It looks like there's going to be about 5 quarterbacks got a first round grade. That also kills Stafford's value. You'd have to trade him to a team that really wants him. And you'd also have to trade him to a team I think that has a lot of picks. And you have to understand though, there's a lot of good quarterbacks not only coming out to the draft. There's also going to be a quarterback like Dak Prescott who's a lot more valuable. I think getting a low second round pick would be the best. I strongly suggest that Stafford stay in Detroit and go from there. So, by the way, now you're making me hungry. Now you're making me hungry here. Check out his appearance. You know, he was surprisingly good on Saturday Night Live. He was surprisingly good on Saturday Night Live. I was kind of like, I don't watch Saturday Night Live anymore, but I saw some of the clips on YouTube. He was actually pretty funny. I knew we were dropping about the left tackle that you mentioned, of course, you can't get rid of him. I'm keeping Stafford, and on defense, everybody's fair game. Keep in mind, it depends on who you bring in as head coach. If you're bringing in an experienced offensive coordinator or an offense that is very similar to what you're doing now, you may want to keep the offense intact, just drop an atom bomb on the defense. If you bring in somebody who brings a similar style defense, let's say you bring in Todd Bowles, all right, who runs a 3-4, maybe he can do something with that 3-4 defense. If that's the case, then maybe he wants to do something completely different on offense. More than likely, Adrian Peterson would be gone, but I'm assuming Todd Bowles would run a similar offense that Bruce Arians run, which would be an experienced big arm quarterback, a lot of deeper drops, a lot of ball control, but throwing deep, and that's something Stafford's perfect for. It really depends on who you bring in as general manager and head coach. If I'm bringing in Eric Bieniemy and Dorsey, I can tell you this right now, they will completely rearrange the roster, and it'll be very interesting to see what they do in the quarterback position. I can tell you this, I think that Eric Bieniemy and Dorsey would basically keep Stafford and just atom bomb the defense. And you could have as many as 7 to 8 new starters. And I know it's crazy, but that's something that Dorsey specializes in. So, oh yeah. Matter of fact, I think his brother is actually the better player right now. And I'm not diminishing JJ Watt. It's that what his brother's doing in Pittsburgh, I think maybe better. That Steelers defense is really good. One Pride 40 is drafting a QB. Let's say you pick top 5. All right, let's say you pick top 5. Let's say you pick 5th. All right. What would a team give up to get there? What if you can get like 2 or 3 really good players that you can build around? I mean, that's something you got to think about. Keep in mind, the bad news is, what if they start winning and end up finishing like 6-10? Then you're getting like, let's say you're picking like 9th or 10th. You can't pick a quarterback, or you have to trade up. A lot of football left to be played, but I am going to talk a ton of draft. I'm going to talk a lot of draft. Oh, he's really okay. You're down Florida, so I know you're more of a Bucs fan, but what Miami did when they drafted him was they were going to use him as a safety corner hybrid, like he was used at Alabama. A lot of people thought he'd be better off as a corner, and his best position is playing a free safety. So when Brian Flores came in, they wanted him to play as a strong box safety, which is not his strength. He wasn't happy doing it, and he's not a good fit for it. So normally when a player says, hey, I want to be traded, I normally disagree with it, but I kind of understood with Fitzpatrick because He's a guy who played some corner, he played some safety, but as a deep cover safety, like they're using him in Pittsburgh, he's one of the best players in football. As a box safety, that's not his strength, and he's a thin guy. So it kind of surprised me when I heard about the disconnect, but when I found out that they were wanting him to be like a strong safety, which isn't what you're really misusing him for, yeah, he's very happy to be out of Miami. Miami will be very interesting because they have Houston's first and second round pick. So it looks like they're going to have a very high first four picks in the draft. You could have two very high second round picks, two very high first round picks. And because Tua is going to be the starting quarterback in 2021, you're not going to take a quarterback. So what they're going to do draft wise is going to be very interesting, because if they do have a top 5 pick in either one of them, you could have a massive trade. You could have a massive trade if a team, falls in love with one of these picks. You could have something blockbuster. And because Miami's added a lot of players, it makes a lot of sense for them to trade. They could trade down for future picks. So the draft's going to be a lot of fun this year. We're going to talk a lot of draft. But yeah, he's very happy to be away, and he's a great player. How they were using him in Miami was not good. Not good. Would you draft a QB2 if you're Detroit? Me personally, no. I build around Stafford. I build around the offense, which at times has looked really, really good. I atom bomb the defense. And when I say atom bomb, I change the scheme. I change the system. And you need a pass rusher and you need another corner. So yeah. Why do you hate Stafford? To say Watt is great when he appears on the podcast. He has some good comment. Yeah, I've never watched the league, Mike. But I don't do fantasy football. I've never watched the league. I heard it's a good show, but I've not watched it. Yeah, would trade Galloway. They won't win if they keep Marty B. So if Fangio is gone, which I think he gets 2021, who's out there for a good coaching replacement? I'd say Eric B because of Colorado ties, but I think he'll be the next coach for Texans or Detroit. This is a good question. And this is definitely what Elway would want, because Elway's trying to build a Western version of the Chiefs. Drew Lock's kind of a poor man Mahomes. I'm not insulting Drew Lock. We went to the same high school, not the same time. So I like Drew Lock. I was a huge, very, very high on Jerry Jeudy. He was my number 3 player overall. So I love Jerry Jeudy. I think he's your number 1 guy. Your other receiver from SMU who's out for the year, he's a number 2 guy. It's not a coincidence that Noah Fant wears number 87. It wouldn't surprise me 2-3 years from now. He is the best tight end in football. And you also got 2 good running backs. Your offensive line is garbage. I don't care if they're playing better or not. You got to fix it. Cushenberry, your center, is a good fit. You also like that, was it Kaiser, the second round pick from last year? That's another guy that I really like, but you need 2 new tackles. Juwan James was a bad free agent investment. Even if he was playing, he wasn't worth, I think they give him like $15 million a year to play right tackle. He wasn't that good of a player. Bowles is a guy that I think he should have moved on from this year instead. But basically, you're trying to build a Kansas City offense, and why not bring in Eric Bieniemy? So yeah, it would be a good fit. Like I said, I've pictured Eric Bieniemy in Detroit, and I've been saying this for a long time. I think that what's going to happen is, if Elway is still there, I think he'll go for Bieniemy. But I think Fangio will go, because you have a huge coach GM disconnect with Fangio and Elway. You bring in a player like you bring in a coach like Fangio, and then you draft all these offensive guys. It doesn't make any sense to me. So that's why I think Fangio is going to be gone. It's just a question if Elway sticks around, because the last couple of years he hasn't really gotten the job done. Alex says, I don't trust the Steelers' offense. They just seem fat. Their defense is winning games for them. The offense is not good. You're right. And that's why I'm not really high on the Steelers either right now. I was really looking forward to the Steelers Titans game. It's kind of sad it was canceled. They're now crying. Um, they're now crying foul right now, which is not a good sign. The defense is good. The offense is so, but this is a team I wouldn't want to play in the playoffs. You don't want to play in the playoffs against a good defense with a Hall of Fame quarterback who's going to continue to get better. You always have to worry about Roethlisberger's health, but no, I don't trust them. They're not. Let me see here. Let's take a look at the schedule real fast for the Steelers. They will beat Philly, and then they have an interesting game against Cleveland, and that will kind of determine where they are, because if they beat up the Browns again, then you have to worry about them, and that'll be very interesting. Then they'll have games against the Titans and Ravens, so we'll find out how good Pittsburgh is in the next couple of weeks. They will go to 4-0 against Pitt or against Philly. That's a game I'll probably put in action on. One Pride 40 is keeping Okudah and Amani. Depending on who takes over as coach, Okudah is probably the only one who's safe, to be honest. I think you could have a whole new defense. It'll be interesting. Why would the Chiefs let assistant head coach interview for? After the year's over, they're not going to let him interview with Denver during the regular season, but when the season's over, he'll have the option to do that. It doesn't happen often, but it does happen, and Eric Bieniemy deserves to be an NFL head coach, and I think the Chiefs will acknowledge that. I think they'll go in a different direction personally, but I do think they go on the offensive side of the ball. Tim Kelly, who was mentioned earlier, who's Carolina's offensive coordinator, that would be a guy I think that would be much more likely than Eric Bieniemy. That's just my opinion. Noah Fant is Denver's tight end. He played with TJ Hockenson. I almost said Houshmandzadeh. He played with Hockenson on the Iowa team. Fant was the better receiver. Hockenson was the better blocker, depending on which one you like better. But what happened is the Steelers traded up from 20 to 10 to get Devin Bush, who's a great player. And Denver, who I think would have took Fant at 10th, went down. He's been a little banged up, but in a couple of years from now, it will not surprise me. Noah Fant, if you don't know who he is, start watching him. He is going to be good. 2-3 years from now, he'll probably be the best receiving tight end in football. His game's a lot like Kelsey, and they gave him 87 for a reason. It would not surprise me if 2-3 years he's best tight end in football. If you don't know who he start, he's banged up right now, and Denver has a shitstorm at quarterback. But once Locke comes back late in the year, Fant's going to put up some big numbers. So like that Lions 2014 defense, that one was good. It's really going to just depend on the GM head coach combo. You may want to get a guy who comes in like Caldwell, who wants a quick, fast defense, but is going to try to score 30, 40 points a game. It was kind of weird because it seems like Patricia really wanted to play more old school offense, have a really good defense, and then play more ball control. Again, there's so many questions, and there's a long season. I think Patricia is going to be gone. I think Quinn's going to be gone, but keep in mind the Lions turn around, go 8-8. You never know. There's a lot of football, but I really think that if they went 0-4, there's a good chance Patricia was gone. Yeah, I'm a huge fan, and it's not a coincidence Denver gave Fant 87, and yeah, it wouldn't surprise me as 2-3 years from now, Fant's the best tight end in football. What about Hockenson? For what Detroit wants to do, Hockenson was a better fit because they're wanting somebody who can run block. When you talk best tight ends in football, you're talking from a receiving standpoint, not a blocking standpoint. And that's just kind of the way things are. I mean, if you have a tight end who has, 700 yards and 8 touchdowns, he's always going to be viewed as lesser than somebody who has 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns, despite the blocking skills. Like Travis Kelce doesn't block at all. And don't, by the way, Chiefs fans, if there's any Chiefs fans still here and they're saying, oh, what about Travis Kelce? Travis Kelce, he's a great – Travis Kelce doesn't block, and they don't want him to block either. He's basically a big wide receiver. And that's what Fant is. Fant is a tight end in name only, but with Fangio, they put him at the line of scrimmage where they need a more creative offensive mind to move him around because he's really just a big receiver. I'm old school. So, yeah, I like the blocking tight ends. I like the tight ends that can do a little bit of everything. But ultimately, you're going to look at the best tight ends as the one that has the most statistics, and that's going to be Fant over Hawkinson. But Hawkinson can block. Fant is basically a big receiver. If the Texans make the playoffs, they'll be a second team to make it with an 0-4 start alongside the Jets. I'm hoping Romeo does well with them. They should never sign him. So, the Jets went 0-4. Well, then it'd be the third team because the Chargers started 0-4 and won the division at 8-8. That was the year. Sorry, Denver Gator. That was the year McDaniels was in Denver. Started off that 6-0 season, and then they finished 8-8. Then the Chargers started off 0-4 that year, finished 8-8, and actually won a playoff game. They actually, if I remember right, they beat the Colts. So it'd be a third team. I didn't know the other team was the Jets, though. Did not know that. But the Chargers also did it. The Chargers started off 0-4. I want to say that season was 2011. But it was within the last 10, 12 years. It was the McDaniels 8-8 season with the Denver Broncos. So McDaniels' first season, because he started off 6-0, Chargers started off 0-4, and the Chargers ended up winning that division. But yeah, the Chargers did do it. And here's the thing that I would be scared about if the Texans make the playoffs. You're going to be tempted to hire Romeo Crennel as somebody who's been with Romeo Crennel as him when he took over as the Chiefs interim head coach, he went 2-1. Including his first game beating the undefeated Green Bay Packers, who were 13-0. The Chiefs were only 5-8. That was his first game, and it was at Arrowhead, and it was with the brand new quarterback that we signed actually from Denver, of all places. I'm drawing a blank on his name, but the Chiefs had like a rotating quarterback situation. One of the reasons why the coach was fired, and of course the GM was gone. The following season, not the second year, because they gave him a chance with Romeo Crennel, and then Romeo Crennel in that 2012 season was the worst season I ever experienced as a Chiefs fan for on-field issues and off-field issues. If you don't remember the Chiefs player committing suicide. Yeah. And here's the thing. He just wasn't ready. But I think that when he takes over as a head coach again, I think the plan is when Belichick steps down, McDaniels is going to step up and try to run the Patriot way. And I don't think he'll be successful. But if he leaves and takes over another NFL team, I think he will be successful. So I'm sorry. All right. Hey, listen, guys, I am going to wrap this up. We've been going for over 2.5 hours. Listen, don't forget, give me the thumbs up. If you're new to my channel and you haven't subscribed yet, there's a button right around there. See it? Bam! Hit that button. Become one of the greatest people on planet Earth. I'm pretty sure most of you have subscribed, but if you haven't, because I've seen some new faces in here, so make sure you do hit that subscribe button. Give me the thumbs up. This has been a great show. You guys make it great. I'm doing my favorite thing in the world. I'm just sitting here. I'm turning on the fucking camera. I'm going to say I turn on fucking camera and I get to talk football with a bunch of smart, good fans. So thank you very, very much. I'll hit these last ones here. It's actually funny, Alex. I remember that we played the Browns that year, and Browns fans were laughing at Romeo Crennel being a bad coach. And I remember thinking, you're the Browns, and you're telling me Romeo Crennel's a bad coach? He actually took them to the playoffs at 10-6. So I was like, aren't you more the Browns? But no. Yeah, he did bad in Cleveland. He did worse in Kansas City. but as an interim, you can't get too much better. So the Texans will turn themselves around. I'm warning you, no matter how good he does, do not hire him as your head coach. Your team will be terrible, but your team, I think, will win this week. And I listen, Friday, 7 p.m. I'm going to break down every single team. I may even have a video out. So thank you very, very much. Hey, I'll see you guys. Hopefully I see everybody back on Friday. Have a great night. I will see you Friday.